What's up, old guy? How's it going? What's going on?
Well, well, well. Well, well, well. Well, well? What's up? Hey guys, we're here. Hi. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I have on my alien shirt. I have on my NASA cap. We are ready to delve into the world of conspiracies. That is right. That is right. Today, I'd like to say what's up. Just like any other day. What's up? Hi guys. Hey, I'm Goose. Hey, we do videos almost every day. Almost every darn day. We take it down to 0 times during the weekend, but typically we come on Monday through Thursday, and we are here around 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we're usually talking about either video games, nerdy stuff, or conspiracy shit. Today, we're going to be talking about how the government seems to keep covering up all the stuff coming out about Skinwalker Ranch. That's got to be the reason why we don't yet know what's going on. I thought that the subject was dead. I thought the subject was gone. What's up, Nutter Butter? How's it going? Ash Ketchum, I consider that a compliment. He's the Pokemon Master. All right, Nutter Butter? I take that as a compliment. But guys, we're going to be talking about Skinwalker Ranch today, and the government has been disallowing people from talking about the Skinwalker Ranch. That's why we haven't heard about it a lot, okay? It became revived a little bit ago, a couple of days ago, a couple of weeks ago, because some people who actually worked on the ranch itself were coming out and talking about their experiences, and there's no way they're trying to make money from this. I guarantee you, they would absolutely, nobody would do that. You cannot just assume that people would just try to make money off of something that we cannot substantiate. There's no reason for you to ever believe that, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at a lecture by the biologist, just a general biologist, no speciality apparently, the biologist who was on site during the filming of the show, Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch. Why is this in the news again? I don't know. I mean, it's not really in the news, I guess. Oh, you enjoy the music, Skippy? Well, that's because it's like this is actually my sort of style of music that I like and listen to off stream. This is, I think, the same, like, you know, probably AI generated stuff that everyone else listens to, but I like the stoner rock stuff. I like the stoner rock. I like the doom metal. I like, I like the stuff that makes it sound like you're tripping through space. It's good shit. So if you enjoy the music too, then please like and share the stream. You know, that I think that sounds like a fair deal. If you like listening to this type of music, do your part. You look like Fantano with hair. GDJ 2002. Who the fuck is Fantano? Brian Fantano? Show us your rarest video game. It's not video games back there, my friend. Those are all VHS. Those are all horror VHS and action schlocky VHS. All right. There's some DVDs over here on the wall next to me, but they are not video games. We do not have video games out here. I do not buy physical copies of video games. I'm so sorry. And are you talking about Brian? Oh no, so I'm talking about Brian Boitano. Sorry, I was like the ice skater. Who's Fantano? You'll have to educate me. I don't know who that is. But I do have rare videotapes. If you'd like to see those. So let's just kind of get into it. Let's just get into the meat. The meat. Anthony Fantano. Still not quite sure. To which you are referring. Sorry. My apologies. I'm not up on the new thing. Music reviewer. Well then. He's among friends. All right. Because I like talking about music as well. It's actually been quite a while since I've been able to talk to anyone about music. People don't listen to the same shit that I do. It's just it's very infrequent, and like I would love to have like friends who listen to doom metal and like things like Neurosis. If we can get along on Neurosis, then we can get along on pretty much anything else. Show you something you can't find anymore. Okay, I'll take a look. No, I'm not ready to feed you yet. All right, hang on. Let me see. Let me see what we got. Stop it. Oh, let's see. How about oh geez, my chair wandered. Sorry everybody, my chair wandered. You know what NASA really stands for? Need another 7 astronauts. Hilarious. But no, well, no, Skippy, honestly, I think this was probably made by somebody, but it's just like mass produced. It's not, they're just jamming for like 3 hours at a time. Making like, generic stoner rock, yeah, do you like a spoon on your spaghetti salad? Like fish, you know, like that kind of stuff. Oh, let's see, I mean, I don't think that this is unable to be found anymore, but this is a particular favorite. SFW. I know you can find this on like DVD and Blu-ray. Like, I'm sure it's been re-released at least a number of times. But it's a good one. It's a good one. I'll read you the back of the box while I am holding up the display so you can actually see it. Alright, so let's see. Cliff Spab, interesting last name. Cliff Spab and his pal were just dropping by at the Fun Stop convenience store to pick up their daily supply of junk food and beer, but what they got was 36 days and nights in hell. A group of terrorists take over the store, set up TV cameras, and hold the country's airwaves ransom with the threat that if the coverage stops, people die. Every second of the experience is broadcast coast to coast. Spab and his fellow hostages become overnight celebrities. Charismatic Spab becomes a hero, a megastar of TV culture everywhere. With this much tension in the air and on the airwaves, someone's gonna snap. Will it be Spab? Will it be the terrorists? There's only one thing for sure. It'll take a lot of attitude to survive. And if there's one thing Spab's got, it's attitude. So that's Stephen Dorff. If you're not familiar with the man himself, Stephen Dorff. It's not really focusing very well, but he played Dorian on Blade, and this soundtrack, I don't know if you can see that, but this soundtrack includes Suicidal Tendencies, Monster Magnet, and more, and Soundgarden and Hole. I mean, this is a very good movie. I would highly recommend that people watch this movie. If you Swimming Pumpkin, yes, that's right, that is the bad guy from the first Blade movie. You are correct. You know, Guillermo del Toro directed the second one. Isn't that crazy? I mean, yeah, if you like taking tours through people's VHS shelves, I've been kind of trying to hold this back as like an incentive to get more subscribers. I'm happy to show more of these, but I would love to do like a whole series of videos, or I'd love to do a whole like live stream where I show off like just a selection of different entries in here. So yeah, keep coming back and bring more people, and eventually when we get to, I think 500 is sort of where I've put that threshold. If we hit 500 subscribers, because that's what I need in order to monetize my channel, is 500 subscribers, and then I need to hit like 1,500 hours, 1,700 hours of watch time, which in a year. I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna do that. I barely get like 10 views on my videos. I don't know how that's gonna happen. That's a part we'll have to just figure out. But yeah, you know, subscribers is really that's sort of the linchpin of most people when it comes to that kind of stuff. Anything rare and interesting from a true collector is cool. Well, I mean, this is mostly my wife's collection. This is mostly her stuff. She's the one she owns all these. I feel very far with my cord here. She's the one that owns all these, like the zombie head. She owns all these things. Little haunted house thing there. And then we have this, I don't know if you noticed, but one of the few remaining combo televisions in existence, and it works. It does work. You can get television on it, and you can put a VCR or a VHS in there. You never would have guessed. You never would have guessed that a combo VCR TV would still be in working order in this day. But it is. Alright, let's get into the meat of today's little production. Your hole will always be my goal, Goose. Okay, I'm not sure what... Thank you, Skippy. I appreciate the compliment, I suppose. So we're going to talk about, again, Skinwalker Ranch today. We talked yesterday about it a little bit. We took the whole stream. We took the whole stream to talk about it yesterday. I didn't think it was going to be 3 hours of material there, but there's 3 hours of material there, okay? Whoa, mama, very yandere. Oh, these retro TVs, I need... Yandere? Yandere? Isn't that like a really possessive girlfriend? I need one for my N64. For your N64? You gotta put that shit on a big screen, man, so you can see all the delicious graphics of the N64. They're breaking. They're cutting edge. They are like crisp, almost photorealistic, if you squint your eyes hard enough. Till they're closed. But so I didn't think that we were gonna get 3 hours of material out of the biologist from Skinwalker Ranch, coming here and doing his thing, going on to a podcast and talking about how they kept trying to cover up his experiences. Every single thing he said had not made it onto the show, which is surprising to me. It's surprising to me mostly because just thinking about Helmet, yes, that is actually what we're gonna do. At 500 subs, I'm actually already scripting and recording videos for this to post on the channel just as video uploads. But I'm thinking of doing a live stream where I record just a bunch of these, or not record, review a bunch of these, because I've seen most of these. My wife, like, she has her own channel where she posts clips of all these movies and puts them on like Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that. She's got like 40,000 subscribers. Like she's internet popular, and I'm just right here in my own little domain here. But she is like, she's got clout, and so she actually posts clips of all of these, and I get to watch them when she's watching them. But I would love Scary Movie GF very Yandere. Why do you keep saying, isn't that I'm pretty sure that's like a saucy term, right? Used in those circles. But yeah, no, I'd love to do a whole live stream where I just talk about these, do like a little tour of the shelves and like show off all the action figures and stuff. Does she hold you hostage? So cute. No, not typically. That's not our relationship. It's very you went real deep into One Direction, and that's not my dynamic, man. that's not the style, a flavor of marriage that I'm engaged in, you know. All right, well, so I've got this guy here, and yesterday he talked a lot about how he was the sort of resident biologist when they were filming. I think it was during 4 years that they were filming The Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch. And this is a program on history, and I believe probably in syndication on TLC, but it's sort of one of those like Ancient Aliens, Hunt for Bigfoot kind of shows, mountain monsters, things like that. Aha, sorry, a man can dream. Yes, Braden, I appreciate your ambition. I think all of us at some point want a girl like that to hang out with, or boy, or whatever in between, you know. So if that's what you're searching for, then feel free to go for it. I fully encourage you to live your truth. But so he came onto a podcast yesterday, which is called, I'll put it here. Come on, give me the bar. Don't play it. Don't you dare play it. Saucers and Saints. It's a lesser-known podcast, just judging from their subscriber count. They have 10.6K, so I'm not sure if they have other platforms that they're on, but according to this, it doesn't seem like they're a huge channel yet. You know, maybe one day. But, and probably not if they keep using AI. But the point is, we saw this guy, his name is Ben Woodruff, And he was the biologist on the team of scientists that accompanied the film TV crew to film the show Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch. They stayed on the ranch, it broken up between households. It was very much like a Road Rules, real world type situation, if you're familiar with reality TV from the early 2000s. And they kind of just recorded everything that they went through during their stay there. And there was and the reason I put scientists in quotes is because there's a biologist, but there's also a security guard who he's counting among the team, an archaeologist, which is a scientist, though why they need an archaeologist for Skinwalker Ranch, I'm not quite sure. That would be like an anthropologist, who you would want to be able to tell you like where, like the different, or forensic anthropology even. That'd be where you would talk about the, the Utes and the Cherokee and whatever this guy keeps talking about. He keeps saying that he's like part Cherokee, or that he speaks Cherokee or Navajo or some bullshit. Just listen to him talk. You know what? I'm gonna have no further preamble included for this, other than the fact that we watched this guy yesterday. We heard him talk on a podcast about all the things that he experienced on Skinwalker Ranch that didn't seem to make it onto tape. Though, what I did try to start saying earlier is that it's weird to me that the stuff that he's describing wouldn't have made it onto the actual video itself, but who am I? I'm just some random guy who's wearing a NASA hat, all right? I'm not a specialist. I don't know anything that he was up to or what drugs he was taking, but let's hear him out. Let's see what he's got to say.
Weird stuff happens in this man-made lake.
Hang on, sorry, this is 4 minutes into it. Sorry.
Hello everybody, Ben Woodruff here. This video is going to be quite different than most videos. In this video, I am going to be sharing a lecture I gave at the Hutchings Museum in Lehigh, Utah in January of 2026. I've been the biology consultant for Skinwalker Ranch for the past 6 or 7 years, and there's a lot of stuff that I'm not allowed to talk about. But I asked permission of the ranch owner.
Now, I don't know if any of you are aware, but there's no reason to have an NDA for Skinwalker Ranch. Any discoveries are not necessarily proprietary. You're just observing something that's happening on a spit of land that, sure, maybe on someone's property, but like there's no reason, there's no good reason, there's no security reason, there's no reason like to not panic the public. There's no reason because we want to monetize this. There's no reason to hold any of this footage or hold anyone under an NDA when it comes to sharing things that they experience, because he does it anyway. He does it anyway. So there's really no reason for them to hold this stuff back, but let's just keep listening.
Brandon Fugel, to talk about several of the really amazing things that have happened on the ranch, things that are not in the public knowledge, and so I wanted to get the information out. So I first did most of this content,
new stuff,
in September of 2025 at the
Never heard about it. New stuff,
but they wouldn't let me record that. So we redid it at the museum with permission to release this information out to the public.
So what you're gonna notice, I'm gonna put this right there, right off the bat, that you're gonna notice that this guy says he can't talk about a lot of stuff. He also says that a lot of the stuff that we did record and that we did talk about just didn't make it onto the tape. On a TV show about Skinwalker Ranch, where the goal was to find evidence of supernatural phenomena. But you know what? Again, I'm just some guy. Far be it for me to tell you how to run your TV show. But I feel like people want to see the thing they went there to see. On TV. Again, call me crazy.
So my hope is that you will share this video and get people talking about the subject. I would love to hear your theories, what you agree with, what you disagree with. I'm just sharing what I've observed, conducting biological surveys and experiments on.
Right, that's a way to alleviate oneself of any type of responsibility for the things they're about to say, is by saying, "Well, I'm just asking questions. I'm just putting it out there." You don't have to take me seriously. Do your own research.
The ranch and take it as you will, but I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you learn a thing or two, and I hope we get a lot of these topics more prominently in the general discussion of the public. So we're gonna go ahead and watch this, and let me know your comments at the end, and if you haven't already, if you could hit subscribe, I very much appreciate it. And here we go, a lecture on Skinwalker Ranch.
Without further ado, here we go, Ben.
Okay.
Pardon my burp.
All right, thank you, everybody. We're going to cover a whole lot of stuff. So I've been the biology consultant biologist on the ranch for the past 6-7 years, which had nothing to do with the TV show, and that there wasn't a TV show at all.
Wrong. He was actually like on the team for the TV show, and he keeps saying that he wasn't involved with it. Like he keeps saying that he was there after the TV show was there, or I think it was after the TV show was there. But it's either after Bigelow was there and then before the TV show, or after the TV show and just whatever. But no, he's lying. He's definitely involved. He's talking about the production itself, like how they were filming different things and like how they found something while they were filming. So like he was there during the production at the very least. He was very much involved. I think the reason why he keeps saying biology consultant is perhaps because he wasn't applying science. But I don't want to I don't want to suggest anything, you know.
Let's kind of do a zoom in here. We'll take a look. This is where Skinwalker Ranch is.
Now, just so you know, it is sped up. I am sorry if they're talking too fast for you, but it's just a little bit sped up. I really just don't want to sit here for an hour and 23 minutes because that means we're going to be commenting here for an hour and 23 minutes plus, and it's probably going to be on the much, much more plus side of things. So we'll get through it quickly, I think.
It's on Earth. Wow, look at that. So, but Skinwalker Ranch is in the Uinta Basin. It's a whole spooky place, the whole valley.
I wonder what kind of work he did in the field before he became a consultant. Was he a specialist in meerkat behavior or something before they hired him? What are his qualifications? Well, this is sort of the thing that we kind of always hit a wall against when we're trying to figure out whether someone's legitimate or not. They tend to say, oh, well, I'm a doctor. But they don't say what kind of doctor they are. They don't say what their experience is, where they specialize. Instead, typically in other educational discussions, you would hear a person say like, I am a doctor of psychology, I have a PhD in this and that, I've taught in this and that place, I went to this school, I got this degree, yada yada. They're way, way, way over willing to share their qualifications. Which, and I feel like that's most people who have attained that much prestige as being able to be a doctor of something. And biologists, from my own understanding, are typically made up of people who have PhDs, who are specialists in their field and who do that stuff for a living. But that's where the blurry quality of a lot of these conspiracy theory guys come in, is that they get degrees and then they go and talk about the thing that they want to talk about. It's like, well, let me go get a 6-week degree in some easy thing to learn that sounds really legitimate and sounds really authoritative, and then I'll just kind of pretend that I'm an expert in it. Y'all just jealous this guy discovered sentient property before you. You're right. You're right. The ranch does have a consciousness. It has a consciousness. It wants things. And it's the one that's reshaping reality around it. You're right. How does the government keep hiding this?
But I'm gonna give you, if you have no idea what Skinwalker Ranch is, I'm gonna start off with kind of a brief history of the ranch itself, and then we're gonna share some of my biological observations that I've done on the ranch. If you watch the TV show, it seems like most of the time we're just launching rockets. But there's a lot of stuff that's happening all the time there. And so if you look at this image, you see there's kind of a ridge. If you watch a TV show, it's good storytelling. This is really close to civilization, but it's also really remote at the same time. It's hard to...
Feels weird that you would say that, knowing that it is a contradiction.
Say it's right by the Native American reservation, the Ute reservation there, but that ridge...
But they're savages, right? So there's no way that would be called... that would be called, what you call it? That would be called civilization. In any way, shape, or form. He very much indirectly, suggests that Native Americans do not have technology, like that they're just still living in tents and teepees. Because I guess maybe that's what he wants for himself. He thinks he's like the last of the Mohicans or something. Hiding, that's my cousin. What? Hiding what?
And then all the way down to that river there is basically where the ranch is. Okay, so so the first thing, it's a 512-acre ranch. And why is it called Skinwalker Ranch? Well, because the path of the Skinwalker goes through it. What is that? You see that red line going up and down? That is the quote-unquote path of the Skinwalker, as the tribes have told us. It also happens to follow a fence line where tons of crazy stuff constantly happens, where the cattle die, where the magpies build weird nests, where all kinds of crazy stuff. We'll get into it in a second.
Where birds build quote-unquote weird nests. I am a little confused as to why that somehow means that is supernatural phenomena. You said how the governments keep hiding some. Lola answered, oh yeah, I mean, they just keep hiding. They just keep hiding the information that we're all looking for about Skinwalker Ranch. We want to know about the phenomena that's been going on there, and they just keep hiding it. That's why we haven't heard anything about it in like 10 years, and then all of a sudden we start hearing more stuff about it again. If the government finally has gotten a little bit complacent, I think, you know, they're starting to let information slip through the cracks, and now it's finally making its way out into the public. We're finally learning the truth about Skinwalker Ranch.
The big red line around the top, that is basically kind of the rough boundaries of the reservation up above. And the oval is roughly the ranch. It's shaped differently than that, but that's roughly the ranch. So this path of the Skinwalker goes through there. Why is it? I don't want to get into the politics of it, but needless to say, the Utes and the Navajo, or the Diné, back in the day, had some bad blood between them. I'm not going to get into all the how and the why, but it resulted in the...
Right, because history erasure starts with glossing over the genocide that we perpetrated against the Native Americans, but you don't necessarily need to be talking about anything about the inter-reservational politics, of course, just like you said.
Navajo cursing lands of the Utes, and with the curse of the Skinwalker, and cursing up from the south through the path of the Skinwalker.
And what Walker Ranch? You've never heard of Skinwalker Ranch, main event? What the hell? What have you been doing with your life? Insane. Everyone knows about Skinwalker Ranch. Come on, man.
Walker up to where...
But so he just said that the Utes cursed the land with the curse of the Skinwalker. Which is interesting that a biologist would be so willing to say something so fucking crazy. But I'm willing to hear him again. I still... Now, in order to offer a fair criticism to the thing that he's saying, we don't know that curses exist. We don't know that you can curse anything. We don't know that anything can come as the result of a curse. We don't know that land can bend reality. So all of these things you're piling onto something that you cannot substantiate. So what on earth? No, bet you I can get whatever at Skinwalker Ranch on D Block by 5 p.m. today. Yeah, you're thinking about the wrong thing, main event. That's not what the Skinwalker Ranch is really supposed to mean. I think you've got the concept.
In fact, you see that weird lake? It's mostly frozen, but that's Bottle Hollow. It's a man-made lake. UFOs come out of that thing. I know it sounds stupid. I'm just reporting. Weird stuff happens.
I know it sounds stupid, but I'm just reporting. You're a biologist. You're claiming to be a biologist. You are doing a lecture right now that is supposed to be informative, and you just fucking said that UFOs come out of a man-made lake? But don't worry. What do I know? I'm just the guy that's talking to you here in an educational capacity. But don't take my word for it, students. Why are you there then?
Happens in this man-made lake that the path of the Skinwalker goes through. So, well, what is a Skinwalker? Well, you always see this. You always see this kind of... He's really going to go on about how skinwalkers are real. He's really going to do it. He's really going to talk about how skinwalkers are real. Just so you guys know, there's very little lore that has to do with actual skinwalkers on Skinwalker Ranch. The only element of the goings-on at Skinwalker Ranch that has anything to do with skinwalkers is that they are on the line. That's that line that he was, the imaginary line where the curse is on the path of the Skinwalker. That's the only lore that has anything to do with skinwalkers. The first family that was there, god damn, I wish I could find my book. It's somewhere.
I may have left it in a car somewhere. I remember having the book and then wondering where it went. Anyway, I had a book about Skinwalker Ranch, and it was all about like the original family that lived there. It was the first account, the first couple accounts that they had of actually doing like stuff happening at Skinwalker Ranch. But it was very, the main things that had happened was the guy, the dad of the family, had a couple of his dogs go missing, and he heard them yelping at night in the darkness, and he saw what he thought was like an orb or something. Like it wasn't anything special. Then another time, like they were taking care of their dogs or cows, and a giant wolf came into the camp and tried to take one of the cows through a railing and couldn't make it. And so like he kept trying to pull basically was trying to pull the cow's head off essentially. And the son came out with a shotgun and plugged one straight in its shoulder, and it kind of scampered off, but like it didn't seem hurt or whatever. That was what they thought was weird about it. Not that there was a wolf there, not that it was trying to get their cow, but that it just seemed to kind of shrug off a bullet. Which big wolves in that territory would potentially be able to shrug off a shotgun if it was like filled with bird shot, or if it was filled with like, I don't know, if it wasn't like, if it's just not the right circumstances under which you're going to kill a wolf when you shoot it in the flank, then sure, it might hobble off, and you may be so scared by the incident that it's like terrifying, it's traumatic, and so it seems more menacing at the time than it actually is. In retrospect, you might create a bigger wolf, you might create a more ferocious wolf to compensate for how scared you fucking were. Like that's really it, man. Like there's no evidence that people can turn into fucking animals. It's just we've had these accounts, we've had this folklore, we've had all of these things that have existed for thousands and thousands of years, and there's just nothing to substantiate it. And as the timeline goes on, there's going to be less and less to substantiate it, because there's going to be more and more time without any actual proof coming about, and the sightings are going to die down as people start forgetting about these things. They're just going to go off into legend. So he says that he's a scientist. He's claiming that he is a scientist. My animality, hilarious. Friendship.
Image, and Skinwalker is a
nebulous
term
scientist.
Nowadays. It wasn't.
A biologist.
Now, by the way, if you don't have a written history, written scripture, written law, then your personal interpretation is always valid as a person of that people. So if you talk to anybody from any of these tribes, you might hear a different story. But roughly...
Right. And he preambled that, or he preempted that by saying that, oh, everyone's going to have a different story because you've got different, like, aspects of the culture around it. No, but that's actually why it's not true. That's more evidence as to why it's not fucking true. You do not have to just play this game to get money. You can tell the truth. You can just be a biologist. I know that teaching sucks sometimes, but like, if you want to communicate this information that you've learned about places, the science is so much cooler than making up this fucking weird ass story with a goddamn hyena on it. Like, that's not a wolf, that's a hyena. I don't get the appeal of, like, just blatantly lying, because he knows this shit isn't true. Like, there's no bone in his body that truly believes that fucking skinwalkers exist.
Speaking, a skinwalker is usually like a dark medicine man who, in order to connect with that dark magic, does something terrible that usually involves killing a family member. And then, as such, they're imbued with powers from beyond to do things like take on the skin of an animal.
Well, see, that's the thing, main event. That's you're hitting at the crux of the issue, is that it's kind of cool. It's cool to both, think about this thing in real life, but it's also cool if a guy knows about it. If he knows so much about this thing that we can't prove that sounds kind of cool, then he can make it sound as cool as he wants, and he can then sell it to anybody he wants because it's appealing. Whoa, it's a dark shaman who can, like, turn into a wolf, but he's gotta, like, do all this dark shit. He's gotta do these, like, fucking cultural taboos and, like, eat a liver and shit. Like, that's pretty cool. I hope they make a movie out of something like that. See what I mean? Like, it's appealing.
When we come down, I'll be a shapeshifter. You don't talk about skinwalkers. If you go to these tribes, both Ute or Navajo, you don't talk about it. It's bad juju, bad medicine to talk about. So nowadays, it's...
And do you see how he's still kind of associating them with savagery? How they don't have like an advanced, like they don't have a culture, like you don't have a civilization, like they're not using fucking cell phones and like on the internet and shit. He's saying that it's bad juju, it's bad medicine. There's no fucking like sense of cultural memes, like oh yeah, people. My grandpa used to fucking talk about skinwalkers, man. Like that shit's like so old school. Like I've talked to people who have lived on reservations about all this skinwalker shit, and it's just as crazy to them as it is to us, because it's like what the fuck, like you're talking about Wendigo, you're talking about like some Yeti species, you're talking about like it's just a metaphor. It's a metaphor for overindulgence, it's a metaphor for consumption, it's a metaphor for like not going into the woods at night. It's just like supposed to be the same exact folklore that we came up on before we were a civilization, like how we learned how the sun came up. It wasn't like some fucking god that was eating the moon. It was just a natural fucking phenomenon. The spinning of the earth is what created that. Eventually we got to the point where we were no longer telling folkloric stories about how these things happen. We just kind of knew. Or we just kind of accepted the fake shit. But skinwalkers did not become socially accepted as the reason for overconsumption or social taboos or anything like that. You know, like that. But he has an audience for this because he presents himself as a legitimate authority on these things. That's why he gets people to sign up, and then these people are either already on the train of the skinwalker or are too stupid to understand that he's fleecing them. And I don't think that he's entirely purposefully fleecing them. I think he believes some of this stuff, but you've got to cover the gaps somehow. So you have to sit down and you have to think to yourself, especially as a fucking scientist, you have to think to yourself, how am I going to explain this? If I'm going to present this idea, which I can't back up, if I'm going to present these stories, which I cannot present any proof for, because I either didn't record these things that happened directly to me with a full fucking film crew around, or because just they didn't happen to incidentally get recorded by that fucking film crew that's around. And like, so he has to come up with a way to cover these gaps. So he cannot be completely unintentionally telling lies. There are some intentional lies that have to be included in that. There's just no way around that. I'm sorry, like, that's just not a thing. You have to lie at some point.
It's kind of a nebulous term. Anything
right
that's kind of black magic, dark, paranormal, weird, creepy, booga is sort of given the term skinwalker. But this is originally what it was. But again, the curse, because of things that were happening between the Utes and the Navajo cursed the Ute land with the path of the skinwalker that runs through Skinwalker Ranch in a very specific place. Okay, we'll get to him in a second. So let's talk about your tax dollars here. Okay. So, who owned the ranch? What is this ranch? Well, it has thousands of years of history. We have, and the season coming out now should have some of the archaeology. We have Ice Age people living there all the way up through modern days. There's petroglyphs on the ranch. There's archaeological digs. People have been there forever. And the tribes in the area in historic times all share that it's a spooky place. Weird, bad juju stuff happens there. So, we're going to dates here. In 1994, Carrie and Gwen Sherman bought the ranch. They wanted it to be a cattle ranch. They were going to raise these big, giant, fancy cattle breeds. And they immediately started having happens like cattle mutilations, where you go out, you're tagging the cattle, and you turn around, and suddenly there's a cow that's dead, and it's eviscerated, and it's like surgically cut, missing bones. It's like,
hold up, no, I'm sorry, no.
Here. In 1994, Carrie and Gwen Sherman happens. We have Ice Age.
Hey, it's Robert Bigelow. Look at that. The guy from Bigelow Air. How'd he get into this lecture? This guy did everything he could to not mention him on that podcast. Probably some NDA issue, right?
People living there all the way up through modern days. There's petroglyphs on the ranch. There's archaeological digs. People have been there forever. And the tribes in the area in historic times all share that it's a spooky place, weird, bad juju stuff. Weird,
because in all the documentaries I've ever seen where they actually did like excavation of portions, he said they have evidence. Right, I'm about to address that, Helmet. Every single documentary I've ever seen that has anything to do with Skinwalker Ranch, and I've read plenty of books too, They all say that no significant archaeological discoveries had been made after excavating the site, and they did that numerous times. Every owner of the site thought, well, have we tried digging? Every single owner. Every single one. And they find nothing. Each time. Which is why I'm laughing so hard that they put a fucking archaeologist on the team for the Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch television show. What on earth? What on earth? And, like, I'm sure that he's going to claim up and down that they are finding new evidence through archaeological digs, but I find that also very hard to believe if they don't produce any evidence!
Stuff happens there. So, okay, we're going to dates here. In 1994, Terry and Gwen Sherman bought the ranch. They wanted it to be a cattle ranch, and they were going to raise these big, giant, fancy...
The Sherman family, that was the family that used a pseudonym when the original Skinwalker book came out.
Cattle breeds. And they immediately started having happens like cattle mutilations, where you go out, you're tagging the cattle, and you turn around, and suddenly there's a cow that's dead, and it's eviscerated, and it's like surgically cut, missing bones. It's like, I was just like 2 minutes ago looking there. How did this happen? Where's the...
I find that very hard to believe. Typically, with cattle mutilation, I mean, there's usually something going on in the area that has to do with, like, a sick person who is just going around and doing these things. Some predation is very clean and surgical. So it's just, it's a big stretch to say that aliens... That's the thing too, is that he's not really offering an explanation as to what these things might be, and yet just accepts that aliens come to visit the site very frequently. He's like, it might not be an issue to just have a UFO land and to have aliens come out and say hi. That wouldn't be news for us. What would be news for us is figuring out how these animals don't decompose. That's really the mystery. We see aliens all the damn time, all right? It's really about the animals that aren't decomposing. Or why are these magpies making weird nests? Because he's got to sound like a biologist, right? He would be too non-credible if he was to just come right out and be excited about the aliens coming to visit. No, he's got to keep his nose to the grindstone. He's an empiricist, all right? He believes the things that he sees, but you know what? We got to dig a little deeper, and we got to figure out the why, all right? Buy my book.
Blood. Crazy, creepy things. The Shermans went half an hour into town, came back, all the cattle were gone. They looked everywhere on the ranch, and then they went and looked inside one of these big old semi-trucks, and all the cattle were like stacked up in there, alive, like catatonic. And they brought the sheriffs out, and they opened up, and the cattle, how did you range up all of our cattle and get them to go stack up in?
That is another one of the stories that, again, that they cannot substantiate, but he's getting this from the book. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever read the original Skinwalker Ranch book, but it was written by, I think, George Knapp. Either George Knapp or Redfern, and it was wildly exaggerated, or Bender even, if it was like long enough ago. But it is so horrendously over exaggerated, the stories that they told, that they didn't want to have anything to do with the book afterwards. They were like, okay, you've turned this from what seems like a pretty educational thing about some weird goings on at a cattle ranch into some extra dimensional shit, into like some Skinwalker shit. They didn't even coin the term Skinwalker Ranch. It was, I think, either whoever wrote the book, George Knapp, Albert Bender, whoever the fuck, one of those guys, they are the ones who coined the term Skinwalker Ranch. And it was only because they had heard that the ranch fell along the path of the Skinwalker. That's the only reason. There was no Skinwalker lore attached to the ranch itself. The only reason they called it Skinwalker Ranch is because it lies on the path of the Skinwalker. And they just added this over the years. This has just been something that they made up. And they just shoved in there, shoehorned it in to get more fucking eyes on it.
In there. So
they did find their cows on their trailer according to the story they told, but they didn't explain it as something supernatural. They explained it as like pranks that people were playing on them. That they had kids. Does nobody have kids? In these equations, I know they're all divorced dads, but you're divorced, so you had to have been married at some point. All right? I feel like this being your new social outlet does not take away all the experience you had with your own family. So you know that kids are assholes. You know that kids will shoot BBs at innocent animals sometimes. You know that kids... When was the... what was the ranch called before the Skinwalker name was assigned? It was called the Sherman Ranch. That's all it was called. It was called the Sherman Family Ranch. I think they even they had a name for it that was something like Pleasance. Like it was Pleasant Valley or Pleasant Fields or Pleasant Ranch or some shit. Like it was just the Sherman Ranch. Fuck, man. Like the cool thing is the discovery of things. So like if there isn't anything to discover here, then why not just take the studies elsewhere to find where there is some shit going on? You know, and if the government has repeatedly said like, okay, we're not going to invest any money in this, which is why Skippy, I think it was the one who mentioned that yesterday. I do not believe that the CIA ever owned it. Though again, I guess it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, they like to just collect shit. That's why it wouldn't surprise me. They just like to collect shit, you know, through forfeiture. But I don't. Owning the Skinwalker Ranch just seems like too much what conspiracists would expect them to do. To try and, like, I don't know, hobble people's studies or something. I don't know. I don't know the point of it, but
it made news. If you remember back in the 90s, it was making it in the news. Something was happening at Skinwalker Ranch, and it was freaking them out so much that so they technically owned it from 94 to 96. In 96, it was purchased by this guy, Robert Bigelow. Robert Bigelow is a real estate tycoon, and he runs Bigelow Aerospace, which is top-notch air and space equipment and cutting-edge airplanes and spacecraft. And
all
he's
true.
Like, well,
all true. And the cool thing about the history is just how many times the property changed hands and for what reasons. That's a cool aspect of it.
Well, him and his wife had a UFO encounter, and they're like, well, we want to know what's going on with this ranch, so let's buy it and let's see what we can do about this. So,
well, no, their whole thing was that yes, they had a big UFO encounter and wanted to conduct studies, but they were invested in a lot of different properties. Like they wanted to figure out like what the Tunguska event was. They wanted to figure out what whether or not coronal mass ejections can affect the magnetosphere, which they I think they do. They definitely do. But like they're basically just trying to figure out shit about the world, about the universe, because they had a weird experience with what they thought was like an alien UFO. It's a cool story. The story about Robert Bigelow buying the Skinwalker Ranch is like super cool. Before he got really into like trying to get these government contracts, and they're all like MAGA pieces of shit now because they're just trying to appeal to Trump for money. But and they probably always have been, but just afraid to talk about it before. But he was like really, really passionate about trying to figure out whether or not aliens were real and if they had visited Earth and walk among us and that kind of stuff. So Bigelow was a bit of a pioneer in his own right in buying the Skinwalker Ranch, because very few people before him had done that, like had actually invested large amounts of money into trying to find out whether or not aliens were real. And people in authority positions generally weren't talking about UFOs because it made you sound crazy. Just like, Project Blue Book was that large disinformation campaign that was launched against UFOs out in the wake of the Roswell incident and the Battle of LA, I believe. So that they could control whether or not the public panics. And I don't know. I think the only other authority figure that's really ever talked about anything like that has been like Carter, when he was talking about the like being visited by aliens. And I think that was it. But he also talked about Molman and how there was a hollow earth and stuff. So I don't know, man. Like, remember Valiant Thor with Truman? Like, there's definitely been some like high level stories about supernatural encounters from people high up, but just never really been funded. They've never really been like really wanting to dump money into this type of research. But Bigelow, he wanted to do it, and so I'm all for that. Again, even if we come up with nothing, I'd much rather we have good faith studies going on where we can study and then not be angling for a government contract, or study and not being angling for speaking gigs or anything like that, where we can just do the studies. And then if we conclude that nothing exists, we move on and we try to find something else that's like been thus far unexplained.
So here's the stats, and here's something you should know if you're a taxpayer. So, George Knapp testified to Congress last year about...
Drop the hard mole. They prefer dwarves. Little people.
This fact. So, there is a government organization called OSAP, which stands
that
for
would
the
mean that I'm
Advanced
associating
Aerospace
them with
Weapons
that. No, I'm not. It's not. It's because before we used to know little people as dwarves, and then they wanted to be called little people, and then you said dwarves, and so I connected them with that. The social taboo, not the actual like stature of the people. Oh my God, just digging myself a hole, aren't I? Ugh.
Systems Applications Program.
You just can't win
Government,
these
right?
days.
It was run by Dr. James Lukatsky and Robert Bigelow, his friends. He's a government contractor. He's making planes for the government, and he said, "Hey, this is to Congress. You can look in these congressional records." He testified that, well,
hi Congress.
Lockheed
Hello.
supposedly had some retrieved non-human technology, some UFOs or something like that had just been sitting on since the 50s and had done nothing with it. He was aware of it, and he said, "Hey, we want to take a crack at it. We want Bigelow Aerospace to take a crack at seeing what we can do with this material." So we're a government.
That sounds like conjecture to me. I don't think there's. When were you privy to this conversation? Because I don't think you've ever interacted with Bigelow. So what is this? You're just assuming that this is what they wanted? Because I haven't read that.
Government contractor. I'm going to start a new subcontract.
Because they did that in 2017, 2018, where they did the big UAP reveal, where Dave Gorsh was in the. Testifying in front of Congress.
NIDS, the National Institute for Discovery Science, and we would like you to donate $22 million to let us take this stuff from Lockheed and study it ourselves for the sake of the government. The government said yes. Senator Harry Reid, Senator Daniel Inouye, and Senator Ted Stevens said yes, $22 million. Here you go. And it was all, and now $5 million of that was supposed to go to study Skinwalker Ranch. All the rest was supposed to be reverse engineering this stuff. It went up the ladder, approved. They were starting to build this laboratory at Bigelow Aerospace to be able to research this stuff. And again, this is on congressional record. You can go, you're a taxpayer, look it up yourself. You can see this, testifying to Congress about this. So at the very tail end,
all this is true. None of this is stuff that he's making.
Head government people who are off the record in their names said, nope, not doing this. So instead,
that part is not true. It fell through because of Bigelow, because he wanted more and more freedoms. Like he wanted government contracts. He wanted to exclusively prepare weapons of mass destruction for the American government. He didn't want necessarily to figure out if anything was happening at Skinwalker Ranch. And that's kind of in retrospect. Like at the time, it seemed like he was really invested in it. But the second they said no, he sold the property and like went the fuck away. Like he didn't really do much after that. He was like, okay, fine, I guess my goose is cooked. Go fuck yourself.
All of that money went to studying Skinwalker Ranch. So throughout the 90s, from 1996 to 2016.
Well, he's indirectly accusing him of misappropriating the funds, which is insanely hilarious. I guess that's not really a matter of record anymore, so it doesn't matter if he's saying, like, accusing him of things, but that's a crime. That's a crime. Being allotted funds and then using them for something that other than what they're allotted for, that's oftentimes a crime, especially if the government's doing it for you. That would be a crime. If you are just visiting this stream for the first time, welcome. Hi, I'm Goose. What's up? I just turned off my face cam, and that is for the reason that I smoketh of the cannabis. If you would like to also smoketh of the cannabis, then please feel free to sync with me, but don't also feel obligated. Just you know. So the face cam's off. We're going to turn it on when we are done, but I am still here, and I am going to let the video play. Also, welcome. Also, please subscribe, because I'm trying to hit 500 subscribers. That would be really awesome of you. And share the stream, please. You know, share it on your social medias, share it on your whatevers, and help it get seen. I would really appreciate it. That would be super awesome. People often don't do that stuff. You know, they don't engage with it, and that is really sad. Oftentimes for me, because I'm really trying to grow this community, and I'm really trying to get this stuff in front of more and new eyes. So I just humbly ask that if you could help me get it out there, then I would much appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I will let the video play.
Senator Harry Reid got Skinwalker Ranch funded. So your taxpayer dollars were going to our
Look at
government
that fucking
researching
goober.
what happens on the ranch. We don't know
Look at
all
his
that
face.
happened. Very little of that has come out. Well, in our time, in 2016.
All right, we're going in 3, 2, 1. Cheers. Smoke them if you got them.
Person. You don't want to be a skeptic. A skeptic is no different than a believer. If you're a believer, then you're never going to question anything. If you're a skeptic, you're never going to believe anything. Be skeptical. Be believing. Don't be a skeptic. Don't be a believer. Be someone who is believing. Be someone who is skeptical and always opening to hearing and learning more. He was skeptical. He bought the ranch and he's like, I can get this figured out. I'll put good teams on this and we'll figure this out in no time. It's probably a bunch of crocks, a bunch of hooey. And it wasn't. And he had his own experiences. He's like, wow. So he started bringing people onto the ranch, different experts for different fields, people he trusted. And Brandon is a big, huge fan of this museum. And so he started inviting me out because I've worked in all kinds of different fields that overlap in strange ways. And he's like, well, let's have Ben start looking at stuff. And then I found so much stuff that they're finally like, we're going to put him on the show. So, but I've been doing this for years. Now this man lives on the ranch. This is Eric Bard. Forget the show. The show is entertaining and to get some of the information out. It's a good show. But this man lives on the ranch all the time, even away from his family. And he puts so many hours in researching this ranch, and he just helps people. And you can get online and be part of the insiders.
Taking him away from his family? So his family doesn't like him. And so now he spends all his time here. Is that what you're saying? So all the stuff he was saying here, this is juicy, juicy shit. Hang on.
A skeptic is no different than a believer. If you're a believer, then you're, well, in our time, in 2016, Dick. A skeptic is no different than Brandon Fugel has come out. Well,
here we go. Sorry, I'm trying to get it to the right place.
In 2016, our local hero, Brandon Fugel, bought the ranch. Now, he was a skeptical person. You don't want to be a skeptic. A skeptic is no different than a believer. If you're a believer, then you're never going to question anything. If you're a skeptic, you're never going to believe anything. Be skeptical. Be believing. Don't be a skeptic. Don't be a believer.
So all of this is nonsense. Being skeptical means that you're a skeptic. What he means is you don't want to close your mind off to the possibility that you may discover something new that you've never seen before. And I mean, heck, I'm here for it. But what you're talking about is really deceptive. What he's doing is he's saying that you need to be willing to believe the unbelievable in order to understand my lecture. And he's using kind of like a weird go around. Like he's saying, he's redefining the word skeptic. Skeptic just, it means that you're not just ready to believe whatever's presented to you just because someone says you should believe it. You don't just take things on faith. You need to ask why. You need to figure out why what the motives of the person who's presenting this idea to you are, what they're going to get out of it, and what you're going to get out of it. Like you need to be able to assess, whatever the veracity of his claims are. You need to be able to do that. And so that's what skeptics are. Like there's no difference between the word skeptic and skeptical. And I think he's just trying to make this into sort of a platitude, or at least not sound like he's redefining the word skeptic. But believers, again, there's no difference between the word believer and believing. Like that's just not, you're trying to redefine words. And the reason to do that is because he wants to assign his own meaning to the words to the word skeptical, rather than what he's presenting the word skeptic to mean, which is someone who's completely inflexible about their beliefs. That's not what a skeptic is. A skeptic is just a person who is trying to who doesn't necessarily believe a thing as presented, and they are willing to get to the bottom of it to find out if that's the truth or not, but they're not outrightly dismissing whatever it is that's being presented to them. They want proof, they want veracity. And what he's trying to say is that sometimes you need to just believe, you need to just have an open mind. And that what a lot of people don't understand, like a lot of these zealots, a lot of the closed-minded people, like religious people, for instance, I hate that I keep coming back to that, but Christians are just so involved in Christianity that they don't realize that it's a cult. And that the difference between a cult is just, what is it? Crowd size, I think was like number of believers or whatever. Someone said it a lot cooler than I did, but it's easy to go to religion when you're talking about that kind of stuff. And then I forgot what I was talking about. Sometimes I just ramble on, and then I get the train of thought like all muddled up, but I'll probably remember it as soon as I start playing this again.
Be someone who is believing. Be someone who is skeptic.
Oh yeah, believing in believers. Oh, fuck you. He's just trying to assign his own meaning to the words. He's just trying to break up those words like believing and believer as skeptic and skeptical. He's trying to break those up so that he can then redefine them and present them as his own variations on what those words mean in difference to what they mean in the dictionary or whatever. Like, that's, shut up. Like, no. Believing doesn't somehow mean that you are unable to believe the thing that's being presented to you, because belief is when you believe it. You just believe it. Believing is just the going form of belief. It's just the verb before, or not the verb. It's just the well, I mean the verb, yeah, but it's just like it's going. You're in the action. You go from you go from believe to believing. Like, that's just, the form of the word is different. It's the same word. It means the same thing. Don't redefine words, because it just makes you sound stupid.
Skeptical and always opening to hearing and learning more. He was skeptical. He bought the ranch and he's like, I can get this figured out. I'll put good teams on this and we'll figure this out in no time. It's probably a bunch of crock. A bunch of
people who are skeptics are open to learning and hearing more. You just don't believe something as it's presented outwardly to you. That's all it is.
And it wasn't. And he had his own experiences. He's like, wow. So he started.
No substantiation of that, and it wasn't. It wasn't just a normal ranch. So far we have nothing but your stories to go on. I have seen, check my watch. I have seen hours of this man's content, and I have not ever once seen any convincing video or photographic proof of any supernatural phenomenon, and that's all he talks about. We have never even gotten into the biology of any of this shit. His whole fucking lecture is called The Biology of Skinwalker Ranch, and we are 10 minutes 58 seconds into it, and he hasn't talked once about biology. I don't feel like it's going to happen for a while, a good while, but we'll see.
Bringing people onto the ranch, different experts for different fields, people he trusted, and Brandon is a big, huge fan of this museum. And so he started inviting me out because I've worked in all kinds of different fields that overlap in strange ways, and he's like, well, let's have Ben start looking at stuff.
Oh. He just casually mentions that he's a multidisciplined guy. You want to bet that biologist is probably the lowest on that totem pole? I don't know. I don't know. The music stopped. Yes, I'm still watching. Yes, I'm still watching. If you're just joining, welcome. Please feel free to suggest a genre of music if you want to hear something different. I'm just feeling the stoner rock at the moment, but I'm open. I don't know if you noticed, if you're a regular here, but I cut my hair today. I cut it. It's definitely not even, but it's cut. It's shorter. That was the goal. And gosh darn it, it's a good goal to have sometimes. I'm an alchemist as WoW, or in WoW. Does that count as a qualification IRL? Well, I guess. I'm not sure.
And then I found so much stuff that they're finally like, we're going to put him on the show. So, but I've been doing this for years. Now this man lives.
I found so much stuff, and they're like, we got to put it on the show. Yet he hasn't presented anything.
On the ranch, this is Eric Bard. Forget the show. The show is entertaining, and to get some of the information out, it's a good show. But this man lives on the ranch all the time, even away from his family. And he puts so many hours in researching this ranch.
Good
and
sir.
He's just helping people. And you can get online and be part of the insiders, which sounds like a gimmick, but he can't read all the cameras all the time. So there's people now you can get online and help see things on the camera and report it and say, look, here's what we saw, here we see. So that's a little background. Oh, went too far there. Woo. So that's a little background about the ranch itself. It's a weird place, and the interesting thing about it is that all the areas of science do not correlate. The biological things do not correlate with really UFOs. There are people who claim that they saw portals. Even in the 90s, our government, one of the reports says they saw a portal thing open up and this animal come through it. That's the dumbest sounding thing I've ever heard. That sounds ridiculous. It's government reporters. They're just reporting what they're filming.
Yeah, it really pumps up the legitimacy of the thing that you're saying when you start making fun of it while you're talking about it. Interesting, right? I've heard a large percentage of supernatural believers are Republicans. Is that true or just some funny thing? Well, it takes the ability to bridge facts with faith And oftentimes that means that a lot of people who are into supernatural stuff tend to be religious or grow up within religious families, or tend to just have that mentality where they want to discover something that has been thus far undiscovered. And that often overlaps with also being on the right side of the aisle. Conservatives, you know, they crave power, but are also quick to capitulate to power. And that is sort of it's like a power fantasy sort of thing. So there's a lot of overlap with religion and conspiracy theories and stuff. That's why a lot of like flat earthers overlap with Christians, and why a lot of Christians overlap with MAGA people. It's, you know, they all share a bunch of the same personality traits and qualities and value systems, etc., etc.
And see all these weird things that happen on the ranch, paranormal type stuff, ghost type stuff, cattle mutilations, animals from the past, a lot of Ice Age animals, and a lot of things that will be described similar to something like a velociraptor. That sounds ridiculous, okay? And
and it'd be great if in any of those decades that followed the sale and purchase of the land, that anyone had gotten any video at any point. You know, the high-tech aerospace division probably should have gotten some videotape at some point of something weird happening. Maybe the entire commissions led by the government that were actually hired to study these things, maybe they should have gotten some video at some point. Maybe the television show that was filmed there with professional film equipment maybe should have gotten some video of some of the supernatural shit that went on there. At any point. At any point. Yeah, Skippy, I think everyone wanted that at some point.
So I'm like, well, you're going to invite me out? I want to experience this stuff firsthand. I want to know for me. I want to use my own equipment, and I want to do my own tests, and I want to know what's what. So my first day, I go to the ranch.
Because everyone else didn't get any evidence. Nobody recorded anything. Nobody audio recorded anything. Nobody took photographs or anything like that. So he had to be the one to do that. You know, he's like, I gotta bring on my own equipment because we don't have any established evidence of anything that happened there. Nobody seems to have gotten any video of it. Strange. In the era of technology, the year of our Lord, 2016, I think, was when he said he started doing it. There somehow just wasn't enough presence of mind or technology. We were all so scared. We were all so in shock and awe of the majesty of what was happening before us. It was like, you know, it was like a divine religious experience.
There by the front gate, there's a dead rabbit. Now, dead stuff teaches bones, skeletons, bodies, biology.
And yes, it's a photo and not a time-lapse video, because you can't see that I'm lying about the lack of decomposition. And I'm going to make sure to put a bunch of qualifiers in so that you don't present mummification, desert mummification, as a possible solution to why they didn't decompose. I already know that. And so I've crafted the perfect argument against it. Don't fucking come at me, liberal, woke scum.
Follow certain rules. When you die, your gastrointestinal bacteria go like, oh no, they're not eating more food for us to consume in the stomach. Well, let's start eating the stomach lining, and then you bloat. That's why things bloat. This thing did not bloat. 3 days, first day, second day, third day, fourth day. No flies, no scavengers, no ravens, no
And, you know, we don't have the progression of that in video evidence or in photo evidence, so we just kind of have to believe what you're saying about that. Interesting. Very interesting. It's almost like he's just towing the line of credibility. He's just like fingering the thread, like just trying to be like, here's a photo. Now you believe me about everything else I said? But hold on, I've got to tell you about the photo. I know it doesn't look like much, but I swear that this thing didn't decompose. I don't have any evidence of that, but I have this photo of this rabbit, so you know that I'm probably telling the truth. There's at least a 60% chance that I'm telling the truth, that this photo is representative of what happened after the stuff in the photo. Just know that I am an expert. Now, I've been doing many different disciplines over the years, but I was hired on as a biologist, okay? So That means I was the biologist at the time.
No vultures, no eagles, no coyotes, no foxes, no raccoons, nothing touched it. I picked it up, wiggle, 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 saw. It was like a fresh dead rabbit. No rigor mortis, the tendons.
He's got some kind of obsession with wiggling dead animals, picking up and wiggling dead animals. So I mean, think about it this way: a person comes onto this property where there aren't a bunch of animals that have just been like dead and like they're not decomposing or whatever, and they for some reason there's just all of them all the time, and then they're gone for some reason the next day. What's your thoughts on Appalachian mountain lore? You gotta share some specifics with me. I'm not too up to date on it. I don't know what one you're referring to, but there's quite a lot of it, isn't there? Folklore kind of came from that, or American folklore kind of came from that region. Or the Pennsylvania region, I guess. But so imagine that you're just a random guy coming onto a Skinwalker Ranch situation, and you know, the camp doesn't know you, nobody knows you. All of a sudden, after you show up with you know, your supplies, quote unquote. I'm saying this in a Dennis Reynolds type way. But so you're like you're showing up with your supplies, and then all these animals start to drop dead around you somehow. And upon slicing one of them in half vertically, you find these metallic orbs. And when someone asks you what they are, you're like, oh shit, someone found my pellet. I mean, metallic bubbles that pop and leave no residue. That's why they're not there anymore. After I took a photo of what looks like a pellet or a BB inside the neck of this dead animal, which they probably were like, hey, can you perform a necropsy to see what killed this animal? We're trying to figure this out because it's Skinwalker Ranch and shit. And he's like, oh shit, I actually have to do real science right now. And they're like, yeah, we want to figure out what killed this rabbit. And he's like, oh fuck, I've got to take pictures of this shit too, and like they're gonna be watching me. And so he's like backed into a corner, and so he has to like take pictures, and in the pictures he's got to explain whatever the fuck we're looking at, which is clearly a pellet in the neck of an animal. And so he's like, they were these metallic bubbles. Like, oh, what happened to that? Why isn't it there anymore? Oh, they were like bubbles. They popped, but they left no residue. And so I just snapped these pictures real quick. And then, you know, maybe the animals stopped dropping dead around the camp because they've clearly suspected that something's going on. But like, what? Stop being crazy, guys. They want food. They want to be fed. But you know what I mean? Like, it's very clear that that this guy is just like going on this decades-long lecture tour to try and cover up for his own fucking psychotic nature. He's like some sociopath that's been just murdering innocent animals, and then like every time someone sees it, he has this like compulsion to like pick it up and wiggle it and go like, see, it's not even stiff. Isn't that fucking weird? I bet you. You know, 9 times out of 10 they turn out to be sociopaths. Don't check me out on those numbers.
It's never anything. It never dried. It never stank. The fire ants never started eating it. Nothing would touch it. And so finally, I snapped a picture. This is back in the day where I'm like, oh, I'm on the ranch. Oh, can I snap a picture? Oh. I was still timid back then. Now it's like, take a million pictures of photos and videos. But I didn't know back then. So there's the only picture I have.
They
on the
hired
day,
you.
It was gone. There were no tracks anymore.
They hired you to study the supernatural phenomenon going on at Skinwalker Ranch. They hired you for that purpose. So yes, they would let you be taking fucking pictures. What's the use of an NDA? I would love for somebody to just tell me what the use of an NDA would be. When this thing is decades old, it's been both debunked and rebunked dozens and dozens of times. People keep wanting to know about it. People keep wanting to learn more about it. Why would anyone put anyone under an NDA unless they're just trying to drum up publicity? Which is stupid, because any person who has any scruples, who isn't trying to get a piece of the fucking pie, would fucking tattle on them or leak the information somehow. In my opinion, there are animals like grizzly bears and pumas who are far more scary to encounter in the wild than some big hairy monkey that people talk about. Even the drug cults are terrific. Even the drug cults are terrific. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, there's scarier shit out in the woods than cryptids. I get it. I mean, I wish that supernatural stuff was real. I wish I could cast spells and become a fucking wizard. Like, that would be cool. You know? I wish that the Loch Ness Monster was real. I wish that Skinwalkers were real. It would make the world more interesting. There would be a lot more death and destruction in the world, but gosh darn it, there would be, like, some cool shit going on. There's some, like, secret societies of vampires and ghosts and whatnot, you know? It'd be cool. But it just... There's fucking mountain lions. Like, have you never seen a mountain lion? Even just at the zoo, have you seen a mountain lion? Do you see how big their claws are? And those things just swipe at you. Or get you in, like, the throat or something, and you're gone. Like, there's just nothing you can do. And you probably will not hear them coming. They're ambush predators. That shit scares me way more. Walking in Soma in San Francisco in the early 90s scares me. Walking in the Mission District in the early 90s in San Francisco, or in the late 90s in San Francisco, walking around at night there scares me. People get fucking kidnapped. Like, there's so much shit out there that's scary in the world than any of this stuff that's happening.
Anywhere, and it would just go on. Just randomly, okay? Eric Bard, and then I showed you who lives on
the
ranch.
I will be right back. I'm going to feed my dogs. I've watched most of this already, so I don't need to necessarily... What the fuck is that thing? That looks like a thing ate it. Another bug ate it. I'm going to feed my dogs. I'm going to leave this to play. So please feel free to ask any questions if you need to in the chat, but I will be away from the keyboard for just a moment. BRB?
He wanted to steady. One of his thoughts, he thought, I wonder if there's maybe like psychedelic mushrooms or some sort of mind-altering presence on there. And I thought it would be a possibility too. That's why I've documented cordyceps on the ranch. Cordyceps are mushrooms. They're spore that gets into the brain of life forms, insects, and it takes over their brain. That's where you get like the Walking Dead idea, right? And then they climb up to a high place and they latch on. There's even an X-Files episode on if you're that old. And you latch on, and then it either explodes out your brain or out your butt, and all those spores go out from that high point. So if it happens to an ant, then the ants will take it away from the colony because it doesn't want to infect the colony. I started finding this with grasshoppers and cicadas. So there are cordyceps, that's worth noting, but I don't think they're impacting our human minds. But that was worth noting, there are cordyceps on the ranch. Okay, here's a happy dead skunk. So my first week on the ranch, I found a dead skunk. Now he looks pretty lifelike. He almost looks like a taxidermy fellow there. Little face sticking out there. And so I took some pictures of it. Came back a month later, he was still there. Came back a year later, he was still there. 2 years later, he's still there. He never, ever decomposed at all. I poked him, I didn't pick him up. It was a skunk, he smelled like a skunk, I did, but I poked him, and he was always squishy. He never rotted, he never bloated, and microbes inside or outside never broke him down. Skunks, you guys know the story, Yeah, skunks, the collagens in the fur, when they die, there is a different chemical reaction that happens and the hairs come apart. They just, within a day or two, come apart from the skin. Didn't happen. The dermal tissue just held onto it for 3 years. It just looked like this. And so we're like, Eric and I one day were like, well, let's do, we're not for the show, but let's just document this. So we sat down with our phones and filmed it, and we're like, and turned it over, and it's still the same. Went over to it the next day, after 3 years. The next day, it was gone, and the tuft of fur, this is the tuft of fur, was wedged up in that homestead right there, those ruins there. There was another tuft on the ground, and in its place where the skunk had been was this. Now, this is a perfectly decomposed foot, not from a skunk. This is a smaller rodent, probably like a prairie dog or a Uinta ground squirrel, something that's a pot gut, something that size. But the ranch, so here's the rule we found out. If you are small deer, coyote size, or maybe like a small deer or smaller, the laws of decomposition, which is called taphonomy, don't apply at all. If you are bigger than that, the rules do apply. You will decompose, but other stuff happens that you'll see in a minute. So this is weird. And to me, and I hated it before when people told me about the ranch. Oh, the ranch wants this, or the ranch doesn't like that. I'm like, what do you see? It's a geographical area. It doesn't have wishes. It doesn't have intentions. The ranch doesn't like that you're here. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. The problem is once you're on the ranch and once you see these phenomena happening, there's no vocabulary to describe it. So what you find is that the religious people start using scientific terms. The scientists start using religious terms because they're both lacking a vocabulary to discuss these things. And that's what happened. So all I can say is, if you go on to the ranch and if you have bravado, if you're like, this is a bunch of crap, it's dumb, I can disprove this, you will get attacked. People literally get attacked. They'll have, like, Thomas Winterton, his brain, he almost died. Like, lots of people almost died. Lots of people have been radiated. Lots of bad things have happened to people. Lots of people have had heart problems. Not me. I had cardiac arrest and died, but not on the ranch. So I got heart issues, and it never bothered me because I've come on the ranch kind of like, well, let's learn. What do you want to teach me? People who come, Eric's the same way. Eric's never been attacked. He comes on and just, what do you want to teach me? I take this And again, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, fine. But this was as if it was saying, oh, you and Eric are going to document that I can't decompose something. I'll show you. Blam, perfectly decomposed leg the next day, even though it wasn't from the skunk. So kind of interesting. Okay, birds. Okay, so big animals, one set of rules. Little animals, another set of rules. Birds, kooky duke off the chart. This is an oriole. I don't have photos of this. You can see this if you watch the show. This is a diagram. So this bird is an oriole. They brought me an oriole body. It looked normal. When I opened up the legs, this is what it was like. The blue is tissue and bone. The black are empty spaces. It was just like, there's bone, gap, bone, gap, bone, gap. The tendons still ran the whole length, but there were gaps in the bone. This is number 1, impossible. Number 2, no.
Oh my fucking God, he's talking about his drawing
or virus
again.
could cause it. And number 4, if a living animal had this, it wouldn't be able to function. 3, no black. Oh, birds, kooky duke off the chart. This is an oriole. I don't have photos of this.
Yeah,
watch the show. This is a diagram.
So another thing that a sociopath would do would be like cut open a bird's leg and then like saw off these little like chunks and then present it like it's science and be like, hey guys, look at what I found in this bird's leg. There's no way this could have happened. There's no way. Now look how wiggly it is. Yeah. Look at the metallic bubbles I took pictures of. Fucking weirdo.
So this bird is.
Why do you draw him this way? Why is the biologist so bad at drawing something's legs? I would think that he studies, you know, some amount of physiology enough to know that, like, I don't know, like there's things are supposed to look like legs.
It's an oriole. They brought me an oriole body. It looked normal. When I opened up the legs, this is what it was like. The blue is tissue and bone. The black are empty spaces. It was just like, there's bone, gap, bone, gap, bone, gap. The tendons still ran the whole length, but there were gaps in the bone. This is number 1, impossible. Number 2, no injury could cause it. Number 3, no bacteria or virus could cause it. And number 4, if a living animal had this, it wouldn't be able to function. It wouldn't be able to stand. So I couldn't even see this until I cut open the legs and saw inside. That is on the TV show. What isn't on the TV show? Well, that is. We're gonna talk about that. Starling. They brought me a starling, and okay, I'll stick with this picture. The starling was squishy. Again, no decomposition, and it stayed squishy the whole time. Every time I go to the ranch, squishy, squishy. It was just like a doggy chew toy, totally squishy. No smell, no stink, no rigor mortis setting in. So we're like, well, that's cool. Every time I visit, document that again. Then I took it off the ranch, and it started to decompose once it was off the ranch. Now again, that's ridiculous. Think about it, like actually think. Now that may not make for good TV, but that defies all I want to be rooted in reality. What are the laws that we are playing with? What are the laws of reality? The ranch disobeys whatever those rules are. So apparently, the rules we think we know are not the actual rules. Because apparently, when you go to a man-made geographic region and then you leave, suddenly decomposition starts. So the skull started to rot and smell, and these bubbles started to appear that kind of looked like the La Brea tar pits in miniature. They were kind of black, viscous, kind of shiny, and they would bubble up. And I'm like, what is that? I take tweezers, put on my rubber gloves, go to pull it out, and it would pop. But when it popped, it left no residue. This happened 5, 6, 7 times, and finally I'm like, nobody's gonna believe me. I better get some photos. So these are some photos. I got one more zoomed in. Again, it's not the best photo, but I don't know what these are. These don't correlate with any normal decomposition behavior of any microbes. So, but this is just something that happened. Now we also had screech owls. Then they brought me a dead screech owl. It was soft. When I opened it up, the keel bone was gone. Just think about Thanksgiving turkey. That big old, the breastbone, right? That was gone. The wishbone was gone. The femurs were gone. The bird was not opened up. There were just bones missing. That's ridiculous. That if you had a UFO fly over and aliens got out and said hi, tell me what laws of physics are being broken. Oh, because there are aliens. That's astounding, but it's not breaking any laws of physics. This is actually breaking the known laws of science. There's no laws against there being aliens out there visiting us. There's no laws against that, okay? This doesn't make sense. This is actually more profound to our existential understanding of reality. Okay, this one, I don't know why, but everybody should be talking about this all the time. I forgot about this. And at Phenomicon, somebody raised their hand and said, hey Ben, yeah? So why is it that nobody's talking about the fact in season 1, a UFO in broad daylight flies over a cow and then the cow buckles and dies underneath it? And I'm like, yeah, why aren't we talking about that all the time? Like, it's really weird. So here you go, look at that. Now, unfortunately, this is early cameras that they had on the ranch, but broad daylight, this UFO appears over this cow, and then on screen, the cow dies. When they went over to the cow to examine it, it was dead, and it had dangerous levels of radiation, enough to the point where if you watch the show, they're like, let's get out of here. They all have their little Geiger counter weird thingies, and the guy, it's not my field, and they all run off, and they come back later on, and it's back down to normal radiation levels. That also is impossible. If you ever had a medical treatment where you get radiated, you know everything you sit on or touch is also radiated. Radiation isn't transient. So this cow, and then the thing flew off. I'm gonna kill you, cow, and then flies away. Like, I don't know what that is. some unidentified thing, and it hovered over the cow. The cow buckled and died. Now, here's what's really strange. The cow, so mammals, when we die, our tendons, when they dry, we curl forward. If you look at mummies that are natural, they curl forward. Birds and dinosaurs are the opposite. They go, right? We call it dinosaur death pose. This is what the cow did the dinosaur death pose. You look at that, that is not a normal position for me. And if you watch the show, that's not the position the cow was in. The cow died, and it did start to decompose, but post-decomposition, it did this wackadoodle shape. And again, this is in paleontology what we call the dinosaur death pose. So I don't believe that the cow had a skeletal and tendon structure like a dinosaur, but whatever happened, it responded in a way like a dinosaur did. So very, very strange. Okay, the dermestid beetles also, so dermestid beetles are incredible. You guys have a colony one right now. Dermestid beetles are a museum specimen provider best friend. Once the gooey stuff is gone, you're done to the dry stuff, you got jerky on your bone, dermestid beetles clean it, super nice, and then you just, kind of peroxide it off. They all, anywhere. You go put a chicken bone in your yard, within a week or two, you're gonna have dermestid beetles there. They'll take care of it. They come out of nowhere. They find it. No dermestid beetles touch this cow. I did a necropsy and gathered so many, there were weird little green beetles that I've never seen before, but there were no dermestids anywhere. I have never seen that happen. I don't know how it decomposed. This is 2 months after the cow died. They had me come out to check it out, so that was strange. Okay, the bone, and that's on the show. So one of the rib bones, I noticed, had a bite mark through it. Now, if you're not familiar with predatory animals, that's not exciting to you. You're like, okay, you bite. No, you don't go around biting bones. Teeth are delicate. You don't bite through bones. Now, the animals that do, there are some animals, like we know hyenas love to eat bones. A lot of animals will try to break a bone off to get marrow and to get some calcium. They use their back teeth. So if you look on, here's a cougar. You got these front pointy teeth, you got these back teeth that are sharp, but they're for crunching. If you are going to break off a bone, then you are going to snap and break and eat it like a little pretzel or something. There are bites like that on the bottom of this bone. Okay, something did bite, chomping things off. But the bite through it has a conchoidal fracture, which means it goes in this way and it has a cone coming out the other way. Like if you shoot a BB gun through a glass, right? Conchoidal fracture. That means
Flash.
This bite happened with tremendous force.
Oh yeah, Flash. You don't know the half of it. This dude, he's a biologist. I don't know. Why would you disbelieve? Why would you not believe this guy? He's a biologist. Come on. They don't get more credible than that. All right, they don't get more credible than people who talk about biology. All right. Don't freaking get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. Don't do it.
It wasn't a crunch. It was a very powerful, quick, intense bite. And whatever did that is very unusual because that is not.
Well, these what he's talking about now is like dire wolves.
Not the way any of our local predators would handle a bone. As you can see, other things have like broken off chunks, but something bit all the way through. We don't have anything that has the power and the pointiness to do that. We have animals with a pointiness like a cougar, but they don't have the bite force to chomp through it. And we have things like a black bear that have the bite force to do it, but they have these round, posty teeth. They're not sharp. So I went back and I tested it, and
that's that fucking necklace that he wears. I think is a bear tooth or a bear claw or something.
I tested those measured it on all different kinds of animals that we have in the area. On black bears, on coyotes, on foxes, on things that there's no things like pine martens, all these things. And the only
is that normal? Like, would they just take the teeth from random animals and then try to put it in the hole and be like, well, I guess it was that animal? I just don't feel like that's a real scientific thing. I don't think that's a thing. I'm just gonna muddle my words together. I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say that I don't believe that that's how biologists do that. And what kind of biologist are you? Like, what are you claiming to be? Because there's like all kinds of different disciplines contained under the umbrella of biology that would be useful in this case, but I don't think he's claiming to be any of those things. Like, he knows about animal bite patterns. He knows about archaeological shit. He knows about like the meteorology. Like, he knows about like how like pockmarked clouds happen and shit. Like, what the fuck are you? What are you? Cougar can easily crush bones. You should be try going near one to check it. Well, I don't wish death upon him, but a cougar could definitely crush bones. He ain't right. He ain't right. He ain't correct in any of this stuff. He ain't right.
Skulls that matched up were a dire wolf, which is extinct. It's an Ice Age mega predator we had here. By the way, if you ever look at a skull, you have to imagine muscle and skin and tendon over. They're always way bigger.
It's because he heard the story about the giant wolf in the Sherman Ranch, and he's trying to make that more credible by saying that, oh, well, you know, this thing that I found in modern day could have been a direwolf, just to lend credibility to the idea that there's a portal opening up that's letting prehistoric Ice Age animals through it and into the Sherman Ranch to then, what, disappear again or die or something?
Than you're looking at. So a direwolf or a jaguar. Jaguar has the strongest bite force of any cat for its size. You see this line here? This is called the sagittal crest. The bigger this is, the stronger the bite force you have, because the muscles, the anchor that close your jaw, attach to that sagittal crest. So I said it when they recorded me. I'm like, the only things that match out of everything.
So he's a zoologist and a pathologist and a forensic biologist. I don't know. He's got a lot of disciplines. He's got a lot of belts on.
Wolf or jaguar, and actually it matches a jaguar better. And they didn't put that in the show. They just like, oh, direwolf. It sounds like a regular wolf, but dire. Ooh, that sounds exciting. We're gonna run with that. But who knows what it is? Who knows what it is? So you know, we were testing it and showing them.
You should know what it is. You should know what it is, good sir.
But this is a direwolf and a black bear. Now, these guys, interesting. A bear and a wolf, about the same size skull. So a bear can smell better, as you can see. But look at the sagittal crest on the wolf. The bear has a bigger brain, but the wolf has a triple or...
What the fuck? What did you just say?
Black bear. Now, these guys, interesting. A bear and a wolf, about the same size skull. So a bear can smell better, as you can see. But look at the sagittal crest on the wolf. The bear has a bigger brain, but the wolf has a triple or quadruple
about an animal just by seeing its skull, whether it can smell better? That bigger sagittal
crest on that area is filled with the muscles that are closed.
Because a big nose doesn't always mean good smelling.
That's the kind of bite.
Right? Like I guess that's more surface area, so you'd have more stuff contacting it, so that you would probably smell better. But I don't think size of nose makes for a better sniffer. I don't know. Feels like a biology thing that this guy should really just... I don't feel like I should just trust him. Because he's been talking about UFOs coming out of man-made lakes. So maybe he's telling the truth about some of this stuff.
So not only does a black bear not have the pointy teeth, it doesn't have the bite force to pop a hole. If a black bear chomped through that rib bone, it would have just been crunched. It wouldn't be a nice pop like that. So as we're talking about stuff, I took teeth of black bears, coyotes, wolves. I didn't have a jaguar, but we took a bunch of different teeth, put them in a drill press, and just did a press test with an expansion to see what force can go through. We took a second rib.
I don't feel like that's a scientific test. That you would just grab random teeth and then use a drill press, like hook it up to a drill press and like use that to then do a sample bite. I would feel like you might have some actual like technology that might exist that could reproduce something like this, where you wouldn't have to risk damaging other actual specimens, unless you just have like a bucket of teeth that you use for this. Like, oh, we got just some random teeth. You know, it's every different kind of animal. You can tell what kind it is because you're a biologist, right? Yeah, okay, that's fine. We're just gonna hook them up to the drill press. All right, we got this drill press. We don't actually have equipment to do this, but we're gonna hook it up to the drill press. You see if you can bite through the bone. You break the teeth, it's fine. We got more. It doesn't feel like a scientific test to me. It feels like something that a 12-year-old would assume that's what scientists do.
Freezer in the back room. We took a second rib and said what compares through. All of them shattered, as you can see, when we did the test. All the teeth when they couldn't go through it. So dire wolves and gray wolves. Dire wolves are bigger. They're grossly exaggerated in the media.
And there's like 1,000 different factors that would have gone into a bone being poked rather than being splintered, rather than being shattered. There's a bunch of different circumstances that may have taken place. It could have been post-mortem. It could have been ante-mortem. It could have been, through like predation or scavenging, or it could have been while the animal was struggling, or it could have been, you're stop speculating on things that are so ambiguous.
We're bigger than a gray wolf, but not that much bigger. They're bigger. So dire wolves and gray wolves were both here during the Ice Age. Dire wolves are extinct. Grey wolves are still here, but they're famous because of media and like Game of Thrones, which I haven't even seen. But everybody's like, oh, dire wolves, man. People like that. Okay, but jaguars, what about them? Nobody talks about them. Oh, they're from the tropics, right? No, they're not. For over 1 million years, they lived from Canada to Argentina. And over the past 10,000 years, they've had a huge range reduction. We used to have
you have to first substantiate. Shut up! You have to first substantiate that there is a portal opening up. Then you must substantiate that it's actually sending things through. Then you must substantiate that the things that are coming through are fucking prehistoric Ice Age animals. You must substantiate these things before you go on and talk about the things that came out of the goddamn portal in any capacity.
Jaguar. These are two species, cousins that lived.
There's no evidence that a jaguar exists anywhere near
jaguars in bed. Okay.
the fucking Skinwalker Ranch.
If you come in there with a good attitude, I know it sounds so dumb. You guys, I don't have the vocabulary. I'm just sharing you. I'm being casual about it because I don't have the words to do it justice. The ranch behaved. I know a ranch can't have an attitude.
Yeah, because he can't substantiate any of the shit that he's saying. He's like, yeah, and this is all just fun speculation. We're all just having a good time, right? I know you paid money to be here, and I'm actually speaking in an authoritative capacity that I'm supposed to know something about this shit, and that I'm presenting it as goddamn truth. But you know what? We're just having fun. I'm just a biologist. What me worry? Oh, pay me money, buy my book. Please like me, my family doesn't.
Acts as if it does, okay? And it acts as if you come in with bravado, you get attacked. If you come in with a curious mind and you just want to learn, then it will give you stuff, and it will give you renditions of what you want to see, and it will...
And now the land is conscious. The land is conscious, it has a consciousness, and it's going to treat you differently depending on what's going through your brain when you walk on it. And he knows this. As a scientist, he knows this. I don't know why you'd question him. He knows this. All right, he does this for a living. Okay, guys, I don't want to hear anyone cyberbullying this guy. All right, don't you dare fucking cyberbully this guy. He's a goddamn American hero. He's saying the truth when nobody else will. All right, never a straight answer. Okay, those words. I spilled water all over myself. Those words mean something. All right. I don't want to fucking hear it. You dirty sons of bitches. Don't you dare bully this man. Don't you fucking dare do it.
Will give you what you're looking for, sometimes in very uncanny ways, and this is one of the weirdest ones for me.
Motherfucker, he has a Trump encyclopedia. It's all just branded, probably.
Up to the ranch, and when the producer came out, we go walking across, and we both look down. There's a dead quail.
See, he keeps saying that he was there way after the TV show or way before it. I can't remember which one he claims. But then he's saying that the producer came up to him, and one of his stories starts with, "Well, we were filming this really intense, walking down the river. I wanted to go do studies, I wanted to go do science, and they wanted to do this filming segment." You keep saying that you weren't even there. What is it? Which is it? What is the truth? My guess is the truth is whatever makes him sound more legitimate. But what is the truth supposed to be? To you, to your eye, what's the timeline of events here? You both were and were not there for the filming. Okay. I guess we shouldn't listen to you then, at all, whatever, whatsoever. It can't be consistent about some basic shit.
One up, floppy, soft. This is dead summer, and Caleb and Bragg both said, yeah, they weren't there in the night. We walked through here, and so somehow it happened right before I got there. Boom, boom, 2 dead quail. This is the male. This is the female.
Or it might have been you just didn't notice some dead little animal hanging out until somebody points it out to you, who seems oddly fascinated with all the dead animal bodies around. And then going up and picking them up and taking pictures of them? And jiggling them? Nah, couldn't possibly be hiding something. Of course not.
Right by each other, and I want you to notice, look at the face. I should have done a picture zoomed in. The upper beak is bashed in. The lower beak is not. That is impossible. The upper beak overlaps the lower beak, and so for it to back...
Let's just hear what he said one more time. I just want to make sure that I heard him correctly before I try to make fun of him.
I want you to notice, look at the face. I should have done a picture zoomed in.
Look at the face. I'm showing you a picture zoomed in, okay?
The upper beak is bashed in.
The other beak is bashed in. All totally normal. I'm on board so far.
The lower beak is not.
The lower beak is not. Still locked in. Everything he's saying sounds exactly right to me.
That is impossible.
Well, hold on. Are you telling me that it's impossible to bash in a bird's beak? Sir, I think that actually sounds impossible. That someone could think that it's impossible to bash in a bird's beak. But let's hear your reasoning.
The upper beak overlaps the lower beak.
Traditionally, before it gets bashed in, sure.
And so for it to bash in, it would bash in both.
So for it to bash in, it would bash in both. Unless the bird had its mouth open, or unless it fell in a weird way that caused it to hit the top of its head, because the whole front of the head looks a little bashed in. So it's not, I would say outside of the realm of possibility that maybe it fell onto whatever this is, or wherever is around it, some piece of equipment, some kind of outcropping, even a rock that might have disfigured its face as it was falling from the fucking sky. This music is capturing my soul right now. It's so good. If you want to check it out, Sand Smoke. I don't think these are royalty free. But it's just really good. I like it. And I hope you like it too. All two of you that are here.
The female, the same. We can see it. It's the same. Upper and lower beak. Lower mandible is out. The upper mandible is curled and jammed in. They're both dead. Neither one stank. Neither one rigor mortis dead. And I'm like, well, hey, let's do an experiment here. They're right here on the ground, right where we parked. We put a little ring of rocks around them. So, okay, nobody do anything. We're just gonna leave them here. They were 2 feet from a red fire ant hill. We're like, well, let's see what...
If we're just following the timeline of events, he said that he just found them dead. He turned around, they said that they hadn't seen any dead animal bodies during the night. You turn around and then there's 2 dead quails right there. Of course they're not going to be covered in red fire ants. Of course, whatever else other bullshit you said.
The upper mandible is curled and jammed in. They're both dead. Neither one stank. They were...
Of course they wouldn't have started rotting yet. Birds don't just start rotting 2 seconds after they fall dead. It takes a long time. And especially if we're talking about birds, when we're talking about mummification, we're talking about the temperature dropping low enough to freeze something and freeze thaw, freeze thaw, freeze thaw. And it's keeping this corpse in a sort of a limbo that keeps it from necessarily being a good host, but also not necessarily a bad host. It still decoms, but it slows down way, way further than it should normally because of the rise and fall of temperature, especially out in the desert, in the Valley of the Headless Men. It's or the Ute Valley or whatever. It's very, very cold at night. Get down to 0 at night from any month with an in it. It just does that. So it's not outside the realm of possibility to think that these things are freezing and defrosting after he's done his little midnight drinking binge pellet gun spree on them, But he's presenting it like they're supposed to be rotting the second they hit the ground. And that's just not possible. That's just not a thing that happens.
The one rigor mortis said, and I'm like, well, hey, let's do an experiment here. They're right here on the ground, right where we park. We put a little ring of rocks around them. So, okay, nobody do anything. We're just gonna leave them here. They were 2 feet from a red fire ant hill. We're like, well, let's see what the fire ants do. 3 days of fire ants, nothing touched it. No predators, no scavengers. They didn't stink. Rigor mortis never stayed in. They stayed floppy. They stayed pliable. The ants wouldn't touch it. Finally, when I went to pick them up before I was going to leave, I did watch one ant come over, crawl up on it, and it went over to the eye, and it kind of like tasted near the eye, and it like, and it ran away. And they left it alone the rest of the day. I packed them up, and they're in the freezer at the ranch right now. I haven't done any necropsies on them yet, but it's crazy. Like, it's kind of like the ranch, like, you want dead stuff? Here you go. Here's some dead stuff.
And so then he just, like, keeps these dead things in a freezer in his cabin? I think this guy just kind of wanted to get away with being basically a grown-ass teenager on this camp. He got bored, he got drunk, he started shooting pellet guns at things, and when they started asking questions, he had to make up some bullshit story, and like they were like, oh wow, yeah, sounds like Phenomenon. And then he's like, yeah, okay, it actually does, sure, okay, yeah, fuck yeah, let's run with it. Yes, this really happened. While he keeps the animals in his freezer.
Stuff, little man. Over the ranch, this is
they're for later.
The clouds are weird, and they usually are. If you get off the ranch, the road that runs south, north-south, that's just a little east of the ranch. If you go down that road and then turn towards the ranch, you'll see it's almost like a bubble. This might just be strictly geology. It might just be that the geology and the geography compresses air right over the ranch, but you'll see it like, and it forms this weird stuff. Or it could be something really trippy and paranormal. I don't know. I'm just showing you what the clouds do over the ranch. And no, we were talking about that either, because it's not as exciting shooting rocks in the sky. Okay. So I decided, let's do a gamble here and let's do some biosensors. So I train birds.
Stop it. So he tries to excuse himself from any kind of scrutiny. He's like, I don't know about it. I'm not a meteorologist, but it's pretty weird. It's pretty weird. Is it supernatural? Is it supernatural? Could be. I don't know. I'm just a biologist.
So this is my great horned owl Shadow. I brought her on the ranch, and I also brought this Pepper, Barnell. I brought them out and I said, let's be really careful about this.
I'm gonna ask a really honest question right now. What kind of person collects carcasses, owns birds, 2 owls to be exact, claims to be a biologist when he hasn't said anything about biology in 34 minutes in a biology lecture titled The Biology of Skinwalker Ranch? So what kind of, and then wears like a weird bone amulet and dresses like he thinks he's the LL Bean version of Indiana Jones. The kind of person that would cover up the killing of innocent animals with a pellet gun because he was bored on Skinwalker Ranch after finding out that it actually wasn't supernatural. But I'm just asking questions. I'm just putting theories out there.
We're not gonna fly them, but let's see what they see. Owls can hear in 3 dimensions. Their ear openings.
What the fuck are you? You're talking about topographical hearing, like you're talking about like hearing at elevation, which is, I think, a thing that birds could do. I don't know personally. I am not an ornithologist. I don't know what the aura. I think it's different for raptors, but I'm not a or I think it's raptorologist. Whatever it is, I'm not one, and so I will not try to claim any authority when I say this, but I think there are some birds that can hear at elevation or not, but like hearing in 3 dimensions is just really funny. It's just funny that you use that terminology. It makes him sound stupid.
Facial disc can shift and adjust so they can fine-tune the way sound waves hit them. They also see in spectrums of light and color that we do not see. So if you shine a black light, an owl, most of them are like pink and purple and striped and weird looking. They see that on each other. We don't see it. So they see things we don't see. They hear in ways we don't hear. I brought both these birds to the ranch, and they were like looking around, like they were seeing things. It was wild.
He's acting like a skinwalker himself. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. He's weird. First he gets this idea that he's going to go and find supernatural phenomena. He's already got a hunger for ghosts and spirits and aliens and stuff. And then he goes to the ranch and he's like, oh, wait, this is totally nothing. This is just a piece of land. Oh, fuck. And then he starts to get bored. And he's got access to like maybe an expense account or something because he's been asked to come here by the guy who owns the place to do studies and stuff. So he's probably got an expense account. Maybe he's got a per diem or something. And he goes and gets himself a little bit of some 6-packs. You know, he loads up his little like personal safety, like little rimfire, maybe like a pellet gun or something. And he just starts taking pot shots at animals, you know? He does it enough, day after day after day, that people start asking him, hey, why are, like, near where you're staying, like, why are there all these just, like, dead quails and dead, like, animals and shit? Because he's bringing his birds with him, but his birds can only eat so much. And so he goes to shoot a random quail or whatever. Hey, here's a treat for you, bird. But he said he doesn't fly the birds. So he probably, like, picks them up, all wiggly and everything, and he's developed a fascination with this. And so he just keeps doing it. And he keeps fucking doing it. And he keeps doing it. And when he gets them, he puts them in the freezer. He wakes them. They're too wiggly, so he doesn't want them to be wiggle no more. He no wiggle, so he put in freezer. He put the creature in the freezer, so it no wiggle no more. And then he goes out and he makes up a story. And there you go. That's how all this started. Allegedly. Very likely.
We've done paranormal investigations here at the museum, and we've done the same thing. We're like, bring owls around.
Now, just listen to those words. We've done paranormal investigations here at the museum.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Doesn't prove anything conclusively, but it was an interesting approach, kind of seeing what do the animals experience there. So then we decided to take it up a notch. Just my friend John Griggs, him and I, we said, let's take our falcons. So we grabbed our peregrine falcons, we brought them to the ranch, let's try flying them.
What are you doing with all these birds? Why do you have 4 birds? You have between you and a guest, and this is not statistically possible. Between you and a guest, you've got 4 birds. Why do you have so many birds between the two of you? You should only have 1, if any. And why is it 2 falcons and 2 owls? I mean, I can't lie. I would totally have a couple of crows on my shoulder if I could, but that's just weird, man. That's weird to be a grown man owning birds. I mean, I know that sounds judgmental, but that's just weird, man. I personally think that it's weird to see a grown man owning birds. And treating them like pets, like bringing them places. Maybe that's just a personal bugaboo, but it's a little strange. It's a little, I think, maladjusted. I would go so far as to say.
So we usually use radio transmitters, but we also put 3D GPS transmitters on that will show like over a Google Earth image map, like a 3D pathway thing. Now, the company that does that is Marshall Radio. They're here in Utah. They also...
Oh, now I remember him talking about this. Okay, they're about to do a topographical analysis of where the GPS is located in relation to where the birds are as they do a flyover of the property. And there could literally be any kind of reason why GPSs or radars or whatever might go crazy. It could be due to atmospheric interference. It could be due to anything like geomagnetic, electromagnetic. It could be anything. It could be anything that might disrupt these signals that go ping from one place to another. If they got to travel over the air, it's something could disrupt it somehow.
Also provide the GPS for government drones. So when the government flies a drone, an enemy can knock it down with like an EMP gun, like do impulse over, knock it out of the sky. So they buy these transmitters to put on the government drones because it won't.
I don't know that people are doing that. It's much easier to obtain just a gun to shoot down a drone, like especially in other countries where gun laws are more lax. So if you've got a government drone, which I would assume would be like the ones that are flying way up, like the Predators that are flying like way up in the air and unable to be shot at by anything, let alone an EMP gun. So I don't know what you think would validate this statement more, but it just doesn't. It sounds like bullshit. I would have owls if I could and treat them as children. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I would do that with crows, specifically not ravens.
The transmit. So we're like, okay, let's try this. So first we went over and we flew the Falcon over. We're going to fly the bird through the triangle. So Eric and I went. If you're not familiar with the ranch, there's an area we call the triangle. It's just a random area, but it kind of forms a triangle, and weird stuff happens there.
Yeah, of course. If there's any place on a property that can be roughly turned into a triangle resemblant shape, then we gotta say that crazy stuff goes on there, because then we can call it the Skinwalker Ranch Triangle, or the Skinwalker Triangle, or the Sherman Triangle, the Ranch Triangle, or whatever. We'll workshop the name a little bit, but I've thrown out some gold so far.
It always happen. It seems like an epicenter of where everything happens. So we get up on the hill, and the GPS said that Eric and I were jumping up in the air thousands of feet, hundreds of feet, like 300 feet, 200 feet, 100 feet.
Now, correct me if I'm the only one that this has ever happened to, but like, there's no way that nobody has ever seen their own position go fucking crazy on like an iPhone, like when you're in Google Maps, or during directions or something like that. It'll like put your phone somewhere else completely. Or I mean, like, there's pretty much no person alive who has ever used Google Maps who has not seen their icon go crazy at some point. And it is likely just due to lag on the network. It could be due to overload. It could be due to just interference between your signal and whatever the nearest relay tower is. It could be anything. It could be between if it's on a GPS, it could be the signal between the satellite and the Earth. Like maybe the satellite's obscured, maybe there's a solar flare, maybe there's some electromagnetic disturbance or something like that. There's just so many other possibilities than there's something supernatural going on here. And I can see how a person who's not grifting would come to a conclusion that this pile of evidence means that something's going on. But all that other evidence is built on the same foundation of nothing. The same foundation of a lack of evidence. The same foundation of there just being no quantifiable way to prove that any of this stuff actually happened. And so now you're just piling stuff onto that. That's not how proof works, baby. That's not how proof works, my baby nuts. Alright? That is not how evidence works. You don't present evidence like that. You don't do it. That's not how that works, okay? It's just not. It's just not. You got to present evidence. You got to, give us some evidence to the first stuff, and then maybe, we'll believe the other stuff. Okay? Maybe we'll start to believe progressively more stuff.
Feet. And we're like, we're just standing here. We fly the bird through the triangle. When it went through the triangle, the radio receiver flared up. Got all the static. GPS just was normal, but the second the bird was on the ground, it said that John was jumping up in the air, like 100 feet. So we did it a second time, same thing happened, and we're like, well, let's try something different.
I mean, you admitted yourself that this place was remote. So if it's remote, it's probably maybe just outside of the range of the nearest relay tower, and it just kind of like, it goes in and out, and because it does that so often, it probably jumps between like existing sessions and like creating new sessions, like getting new access to the internet each time, or like resetting your whatever your IP, the access port IP is, or resetting your entire signal, or whatever.
Went all the way to Eastfield.
It's like kids who go into like a dark house. There's no evidence that the place is haunted. There's no stories of any ghosts or anything like that. You just see a scary movie one day, and you're in your suburban tract home, and you're a kid who's 8. You're with your friend who's 8, or like whatever stupid kid age, and you think to yourself, "We're gonna say Bloody Mary into the mirror," or "We're gonna go try and find ghosts in the basement," and you run down there with flashlights, and you end up being so enthusiastic about it that you freak each other out, and then you start believing that you're seeing ghosts and shit. And that experience is pretty real until you realize, like, either in retrospect or in the moment, that it's like, okay, it's kind of dumb that we're like scared of something in a place where there's no There's no evidence of any supernatural anything happened. We just were in a spooky mood. But like, it's like that. It's like when you go to this ranch and you have a friend, you got this like falcon, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's like so crazy. Like, oh man, we're gonna see all this like supernatural phenomenon. Your sad devotion to that hokey religion has not delivered the rebel base to us. I find your lack of faith. What? Play, damn you!
Start playing the bird. The bird's going up thousands of feet, circling up, doing great, and then we try to call it down. And it would come down and come into the lure, and right before it would catch it, we'd like, would freak out. We didn't know why. And it would get freaking out, would not touch the ground. It's like, okay. So then the bird started circling up again, even though we were trying to call it down, and all of a sudden the GPS started missing blips. And like, what is...
Could have been a snake, could have been a scorpion, could have been that it just wasn't feeling comfortable, could have been like a little injury on its foot. Anything. Like, could have been any reason why it didn't want to land at that particular moment.
It's going, it's like missing blip, going, missing blip, and all of a sudden, on camera, the bird disappears. We have phones filming it, we have the TV show, people are filming it, the bird disappears. And John's like, my falcon, what the fuck, what are you doing there? Then we're like,
then show the video. See, this is the kind of guy who would show you empty sky, and then he'd be like, there it is, the bird isn't there anymore. Isn't that crazy?
Immediately, it reappears on the GPS and it's over the triangle, about a mile away, immediately. And we're like, oh, we go running over there. The GPS said that the bird went through the mesa, and now that it's out, the bird is moving, and the bird's movements are accurate on the GPS, but now the GPS is off by about a half mile. Everywhere it goes, the radio receiver was perfect. It was like, once we got a radio signal again, it was spot on where it should be.
Right.
We called the bird back, the bird was just fine.
Or, and maybe I'm just going way too crazy here with the speculation, but or, maybe this sounds more plausible. You and your friend took your pet birds out. Don't know why that's such a nonchalant thing for two grown men to be doing, is to just take their pet birds on a walk. Being two owls and two falcons. But you do that. You take your birds on a walk. You and your best friend, you go on a sightseeing adventure with each of your pairs of pet birds. And you decide to track them on your GPS, and the GPS glitches out. Oh, crazy! Because you've got to have your birds tagged, right? You have them tagged with like a GPS signal. Yeah, absolutely. You got to keep track of your birds. Pet birds. They're your friends. They're your family. So you track them, and then the thing glitches out. Everything else happens normally. They come back. It's all fine. Or one of them gets lost, and you're like, oh man, I got to go find them. And so you find them a half mile away, and then the GPS is freaking out again. And you're like, oh shit, hey, we could probably do something with this. And then the story starts building and building and building, and then you come up with this, whatever this is.
Now, if you go back and see this, where this took
that
place,
it somehow teleported, and the film crew caught it, and they got it on video. They had it on drone video, but for some reason it's not there. It's just not there anymore. Weird how he doesn't have it to present. It's so strange.
Place. If you watch the TV show, there's an episode where they show this white glowing orb seems to go in the mesa over the east field, and there's another episode where Brandon...
Right, if you watch the show, after the editors and the production crew have all gotten a hold of it, then they show you a rendition of what people claim to be a white orb going through the mesa. You dishonest piece of shit.
Flying over in the helicopter, and you see this white glowing orb come out of the mesa over towards the triangle. Those are the exact same spots where this GPS stopped and started again. So why is it not on the show? Well, they were like, the editors were like, well, let's put this in the next season and claim it was this season, because we have so much to fill in. I'm like, okay, whatever. But then there were people in those shots who were not on the show anymore. So like, well, we can't do it now. I'm like, you had a bird that seems to have flown through the mesa, traveling through space and time. Why are you not putting this on the show? It seems like that should be important. But,
oh my god. I haven't clicked on this guy's picture yet, and I haven't taken a look at his bio, but the channel description reads, if you can't read it because the text is small, but I'll read it to you. I hope, fucking strap in y'all. This channel is primarily a falconry channel to teach about the ancient sport of falconry. But it also contains videos about other wildlife, biology, paleontology, archaeology, and anthropology. Additionally, I sometimes share my other hobbies on here, like fire dancing astrophotography, flint napping, motorcycles, etc. Right.
Sneaking ears. And they're like, well, we might put the show in the show. Finally, I'm like, Brandon, can I please have permission to talk about this one? Because
fire dancing. Fire dancing.
This is really big. He gave me permission, and so it's been out since September, thankfully. Okay. On that north-south running axis, the path of the Skinwalker. That's the line right next to the main homestead. That's where the cow died. The UFO shows up and a cow buckles and dies under. That's where the cow died the next year, about a mile down the road, but on that same fence, like, buckled and died. And I'm like, look at the magpie nest. The magpie nest there, you can't see in these images, these are just things I took with my phone. But so a magpie nest is a very specific nest. They first make a mud nest, it looks like a robin nest. It's mud and clay and grass. And then around it, they build a stick nest with walls and a ceiling and a side door. It's a very specific, very recognizable nest. These guys were doing that sideways, so the eggs and the babies would keep falling out. They were building it right, but
I mean, we had claims earlier, right, of birds being disoriented and just flying into the ground and stuff. And then we talked about HARP and about the atmospherical testing facilities that can actually start affecting like bird flocks around them. It's like, you know, these strange die-off events that we see sometimes we can attribute to, like, you know, the misdirection of a reflective lens of something, or like a concentration of light somewhere that that raises the temperature too many degrees or something. You know, it's just the idea that nature can do weird shit is way more interesting. Like the Earth being just 1 degree hotter would shift the entire ecosphere, would shift the world's ecosystems entirely. And like that's what I mean. Like, you know, it's really strange and crazy how the world and nature works, and like that is such a better area of study because you learn more crazy shit than trying to speculate about what could be popping through extra dimensional portals on a mesa in a slightly rural but damn near civilization property in Utah.
But it's like they have the directions right but the angle wrong.
But like there's a bunch of reasons why the birds in the area could be building their nests wrong. You know, it could even just be like a sound pulse that's happening that throws off their internal directional you know, mechanisms, and that could be causing them to just lean askew like in their normal lives. Like maybe they fly weird, they put their nests up weird, and they end up dying off because they can't raise their babies properly.
And they kept doing that year after year after year. We don't know why, but I'm like, this is on that same path of the Skinwalker, whatever it is, the same spot. So whatever's going on is very unusual.
Same spot. So this was one bird. This was one pair of birds. And that's somehow indicative of nature as a whole. I thought that he was talking about, like, in the whole area they found birds that were laying their nests wrong. And even then, like, this nest looks fine. It looks like he's looking up at a tree, and this nest is facing away from us, but it doesn't look like anything's gonna necessarily fall out of it. And it could just be on a shitty branch, dude. Like, it's not supernatural.
So then Dragon, kind of a graphic picture, I don't know what it is. Like, what am I looking at? You're looking at a fish. So Dragon went and did some fishing, and he caught a little catfish, and he's like, hey, you always want that stuff here. Why don't you in the crop done this? Tell me what you think. So I cut it open, there's spine, and then I get down to the dorsal pathway there along the spine, and it's all red, and it looks very much like iron. All the rest of the tissue, all the rest of the flesh was just normal fish muscle. But right along the spine, opened up, and it was like iron. And I'm like, that looks so much like iron, I gotta test it. So I got a magnet, and it was magnetic. Whatever was inside of it was magnetic. So
just wiped that stuff on the magnet. And that fucking Christ, dude. So to me, it looks like they cut open, and that was that supposed to be a salmon? Oh no, he said a catfish. Did he say catfish?
was just normal fish. And it's all, so I cut it open, did some fishing, and he caught a little catfish, and he's like, hey, you already want that stuff here, why don't you do the crops on this, tell me what you think. So I cut it open, everything's fine, and then I get down to the dorsal pathway there along the spine, and it's all red, and it looks very much like iron. All the rest...
It honestly looks like that's a spice rub that someone has put onto a fish, but if I'm to assume that it's something natural, like they didn't do anything to this, that because this is, I don't know what he's keeping it in, whatever, the point is, it just looks like someone was about to cook it, and then they were like, hey, let's do something skinwalkery with this. But if I'm just taking this at face value, if I'm just saying like, okay, we're looking at this fresh, with no bias yet, whatsoever. If I'm looking at it, it looks like it probably cut into the egg sac. And they have a really dull knife, and it was just spreading the eggs around as it was basically turning them into a mush. Either that, or there's just a really high iron content in whatever the not enough to make, because that doesn't look like iron and silt like how he's talking about. He's talking about like clay iron deposits where you would extract the iron oxide from whatever it is, like from the silt and sediment. That's not what we're looking at here. We're looking at something biological. This is likely the punctured egg sac that's now been like spread around everywhere.
So the tissue, all the rest of the flesh was just normal fish muscle. But right along the spine, opened up and it was like iron. And I'm like, that looks so much like iron, I gotta test it. So I got a magnet, and oh, it was magnetic. Whatever was inside iron. And I'm like, that looks so much like iron, I gotta test it. So I got a magnet, and oh, it was...
So this one shot here, he holds what is presumably a magnet over it, and then it's not a video or anything.
It was magnetic.
Then he just... he probably just dropped it. Like, that is clearly just been smeared on there.
Whatever was inside of it was magnetic. So Travis brought up the point, he wasn't suggesting this one, but he brought up the point that modern medicine is now doing a thing where some of the medications, they put iron in it, and they use a magnet to guide it to the place where it needs to be. I don't know what, I'm not in the medical field, but he's like, okay, this is...
It doesn't sound outside the realm of possibility, but that sounds too weird. There's too many other ways that you can do the proper medical procedures without using magnets and iron. I don't know if that's a thing.
This is a technology that we're experimenting with in humanity, but this is a random fish that Dragon caught doing some night fishing in Dry Gulch Creek. So again, this is an anomaly. This isn't like the ranch showing us something. This is just some strange artifact of the ranch itself. So kind of...
So it has nothing to do with the biology of Skinwalker Ranch. What the fuck are you talking about? Ben! It's been almost an hour and you haven't said anything about the biology of Skinwalker Ranch. You've cut open a bunch of animals. You've wiggled a bunch of dead animals. You keep getting all like weirdly nostalgic about how they didn't decompose until you put them in your freezer. Like, what the fuck, Ben? Why are your hobbies falconry and fire dancing? Benjamin!
kind of strange. Okay. All right, where are we at here?
Oh, for Christ's sake! It's probably a pretty cool album cover, to be honest.
Yeah, bite through the bone. Okay. Okay. Got the clouds. Make sure. Okay. We're on track here. All right. So, one of the teams went down the river, and they had some kayaks they were pulling along, and they had equipment on top of it. So they're not boating, they're just like dragging our equipment. Along the way, they found this dead thing, and it stank. They're like, what is this? Some sort of a old dog or something?
Showing that things don't necessarily, they do decompose like normally on that property.
It's disgusting. It stinks so bad. Well, maybe Ben would want it. Let's get the skull. So they took a machete, and they hacked off the skull, put it in a bag.
Oh, see, now he's got an updated, this was more recent than the podcast appearance. So now he's got an updated reason for why there's like cut marks in the jawbone, because he said that they just miraculously appeared in the podcast, but that's just not believable. So like, I think maybe he understood that, and then he's like, oh, I gotta come up with some other way to tell this story.
Yes, they did, but they assumed it was just some old dog, and they didn't want, so thankfully they at least did that.
A biologist doesn't just collect every corpse it sees. That is not how they operate. That is not in any way, shape, or form what a biologist does. They don't just collect carcasses. Your channel is about falconry. Your channel is about falconry. And you dabble in biology. And you're collecting all these carcasses. He's collecting dead animals for study. As a biologist, but your channel's about falconry, and one of your, like, the top hobbies you list is fire dancing. You have 2 pet birds. One is fine, but you have 2 pet birds, and they're both owls. Those don't go to normal vets. Owls do not go to normal vets. You are clearly living a very specific lifestyle. And I don't think you're a biologist.
And then 2 weeks later, they bring it to me, and I'm like, my goodness, that by size and shape and number of teeth looks like a subadult dire wolf. Is what it looked like. And they only gave me, it was just a lower jaw. And I'm like, go back and get the rest of it, please. And they're like, well, okay. They went back.
I'm just going to ask the Google AI, can you tell what species an animal is from a lower jawbone? Okay, apparently it is absolutely possible to identify an animal species from its lower jawbone. Often down to the exact species, okay. Well, I didn't know if that was possible. You know, I'm sure he's done more research on that than I have to come up with his story.
Back, the rest of the skull had washed down.
And why are we always carrying these things around in to-go containers? The fish was in a to-go container. This is in a takeout container. Why are we carrying everything around in those? I guess that's probably where samples are collected, so that it makes sense.
The river.
I'm
so
real-time
they
rational.
The skeleton, and it was so rank, they put it all in like a quadruple garbage bag, and then they froze it. So they gave me this frozen block, and they're like, here, take your stinky dog. So I thawed it out in my yard.
See, he's got like some weird fascination with just dead animals. I feel like somebody should be concerned about this man. It's not going to be me, but I feel like somebody should be concerned about this guy. He's so fascinated with dead animals.
The rest of it, we'll get to this shot in a second. I thawed it out in my yard and in my garden bed, and it's decomposing in very strange ways, like weird white. I don't know. It looks like kind of like styrofoam. If like styrofoam crystallized all over the outside, almost like a weird silk.
Now he's just making shit up.
Be crystal formed all over it, and I scraped those off. So I'm gonna get it all out and share what we have eventually. But
share what we have eventually. But okay, I'm under NDA. Oh, and people say I can't share shit. I got the proof. I promise. Though it's sitting in my backyard.
So we're like, well, what is this? Could we do a DNA test? So we took the tooth, and I gave it to somebody. I don't even remember who, and then it disappeared. I think somebody stole it.
Very convenient. Very convenient.
So like, we need another tooth. So I got the next biggest tooth, and I shipped it off. They had me send it to a genetics lab. So, and I didn't know who it was going to at first, and I'm like, dear whoever, you know, this might be from a dire wolf.
So you're a person who has been hired to do studies on this property for, the specific purpose of proving that paranormal activity exists. You now have, you're an experienced biologist, right? As you claim. So you probably have a lab that you often send samples to. You probably have an established lab that you know is reliable enough to send these samples to. You didn't live so far away from this place that you would not be able to use your regular lab. So you use your regular lab. No, actually what happened was you tell this story about how you handed it off to somebody. Somebody requested it to you. You didn't have the foresight to determine who they were, establish their identity. You didn't remember who they were, and so you just handed it to them and it disappeared. You think somebody stole it. As a reputable biologist, I would probably know who I'm handing a important sample off to, but I guess suspend your disbelief for that one. But then I have to find a new lab, because I guess this one, the random person I handed it off to was not a reputable, well-established lab. So I then just find a lab to send something to, and I don't know who I'm sending it to. I don't, for some reason. I haven't ever talked to this lab before. I haven't ever interacted with them, but now I'm going to send something really important to them that could prove everything I've been speculating on for the last couple of years that I've been on this fucking property. Yeah, sure. It just doesn't sound like supported by reality.
Wolf, it probably isn't, but it looks like one dire wolf lived here during the Ice Age, blah, blah, blah. And thinking I'm giving a little bit of education. What I didn't realize, it was going to Colossal Bioscience, which is the world premier genetics lab. They're the ones who brought back dire wolves recently in the news. They're the ones that are working to bring back woolly mammoths and dodos, okay? And they were like, little boy, they're like, yes, we know dire wolves. We've sequenced several of their genomes. And I'm like, oh, sorry, I didn't know it was you guys. So I'll get to what the genetic results were in a minute. But when I brought the jaw back to the ranch, I had it in a little Tupperware bin, little short thing, lid open, no lid. There's a little paper towel sitting there. And they're like, hey, Ben, come on, we're having lunch. Why don't you set that outside? So I left it on a little table.
I mean, to be completely fair, it honestly sounds like you wanted to send it to the place where they were bringing back the dire wolf and woolly mammoths, specifically. There's no way that you did that by chance when you're trying to determine something that you've already identified as a dire wolf. My guess is that they replied to you unfavorably.
Right next to the trailer, and when I came back out, this is what was all over. Look at these lacerations all over it, including underneath it. Every side of it had these lacerations. I'm like, this is maybe 10 to 12 minutes. It wasn't moved. The container wasn't moved. It was in the exact position I had left it in, because I didn't want to touch it. I mean, see rubber gloves. I don't want to touch it with my bare hands. So I knew the exact position it was in, so I was showing them. And I thought, could it be like a rodent somehow? But you look at it, they're not in concentric lines. Rodents have 4 front incisors and, well, 2 top, 2 bottom incisors, I think.
Dude, like, okay, so I guess he didn't try to find a more plausible way to explain this, but why? Why are you just making this up? Like, what is the reason? Like, you think people are gonna doubt you just because they see scrapes on the bone? It's clear that this was roadkill, because that is consistent with fucking road rash. Like, let's see. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Oh no. Oh no, I guess I've debunked this man. It's almost like, and you know, feel free to disagree with me, but it's almost like they fished a dog that'd been hit by a car out of the river and handed this man its lower jaw. Gosh. Gosh darn it. He might not have been accurate about... He might have been mistaken about the identity of the owner of this lower jawbone. Gosh. Gorsh, even. Anyone who's ever been in a car accident or has been drunk at 3 a.m. and not supposed to never ever drive when you've been drinking. But anyone who's done that before knows what a side scrape looks like. And that is a dog whose face bounced off of a car. Tragic as it is, but it was well dead and decomposed by the time they found it. Proof? Definitely not of a dire wolf.
I don't know what formed these. I have no idea how it could have happened, but it happened in 12 minutes in daylight while we were just a few feet away from it. And they were undisturbed. I don't know what to think. So this is what I mean. This ranch is weird. This isn't ever going to make it in a show.
No, it didn't. No, it's not.
Let's go burn something. Let's blow something up and do a test that's showy and interesting to the general public. But this is ridiculous. This is uncanny. Okay, so the DNA results came back. And Colossal was like, well, 10 or give or take 11%, basically 10% of it was gray wolf. So we can confidently say it was a type of gray wolf. And I'm like, so what about the 90%? The 90% is something else. You're not going to talk about that? 10% is like beyond the minimum. How could you? So first of all, let's talk about the 10%. The 10 or 11% was gray wolf, but it was not American gray wolf. It was Greenland gray wolf and Eurasian gray wolf. They don't live here, and they don't live with each other, okay? Now...
So, possibly genes from descendants or genes from ancestor? I don't know if that exists or if that's a thing. But it's like, you know how Ancestry.com, like it'll tell you, oh, I'm like 1% Welsh and I'm 10% Irish and you know, like that kind of stuff. Like, could it be that for like dog breeds? Like that would be this thing, you know? But I doubt it would be a wolf, right? It would be like your Shar-Pei and fucking Wolfhound. It wouldn't say that you're a different species entirely.
We're not supposed to have wolves in Utah anyways, but Greenland gray wolves and Eurasian gray wolves most definitely are not here. And again, they shouldn't ever encounter each other. So where is that?
Is that true? Are any wolves native to Utah? Gray wolves are historically native to Utah, but were largely eradicated by the 1920s. Currently, there is no established self-sustaining population in the state. Although occasional individuals travel from neighboring states, they are considered endangered in most of Utah, but not entirely gone. So there you go. I think which state is Lauren Boebert the representative of? Was that Utah? Or I guess I don't care enough to remember, but she did something about wolves. Like she wanted to have a bill where they wanted to get rid of wolves in her state, and there was only like 8 attacks or something like that in the entire 50-year history of their existence.
Coming from the other 90%.
Colorado. Okay, thank you, Skippy.
Is a new unknown wolf that goes into the gray wolf clade, but they're like, you could tell, I can't remember how they read it up, but they're like, you could tell they're like, we're just going to focus on this 10% because we don't want to say something outlandish that will make our company look weird or make our stockholders like scratch their heads. They have like
clearly wolves come into the state. They're not extinct from the state. They are occasionally around. So there is absolutely every possibility, and there are coyotes there too. So there's absolutely every possibility that a wolf got hit by a car and ended up on that riverbank. It doesn't have to be aliens, man. It doesn't have to be interdimensional portals that send ice age animals into the modern day. It doesn't have to be any of those things.
Fox, every wolf, every breed of dog, dingoes, even like the Papuan singing wolves, the little mini ones, right? Even though they have all these sequences, and it came up with none of those. So 90% of this is a new wolf. Eric said, let's call it a crypto wolf. And I'm like, I like that. But everybody's so focused on the dire wolf part that people are
right, during their brainstorming session when they were deciding how to make up this fake animal.
Like it's some kind of dire wolf. We don't know what it is. It didn't match with dire wolves, with regular dire wolves. The jaw we found, the size and shape matches subadult dire wolf. So just because morphologically the same doesn't mean that's what it is.
Some kind of dire wolf?
But the DNA, 90% is something new to science. That should be big news. New species discovered in Uinta Basin in Utah, but nobody's talking about that. It's not what we focus on.
Yeah, gosh, maybe it's almost like you made it up and like there's no legitimate proof that you actually discovered something like this. It's almost like this shit doesnn't exist. It's so weird.
Okay, this is
crazy
a
even.
Story worthy of sharing. So, one night, this cameraman back here, this amazing documentary master Charlie and I, we were like, let's do some astrophotography. So we went out to where this bubble is, and we start.
One of his many hobbies, along with fire dancing and falconry.
Taking some photos, get some good photos. And I'm like, you know what, Charlie? Sometimes this ranch is spooky and you feel it. You feel like you're being watched or you feel like something's off. And other times, like right now, it just feels like a normal ranch. And he's like, yeah, it just feels like absolutely nothing. And then we hear the sound immediately, like, oh yeah. And we hear the sound. It sounds like if you shoot a 22 bullet across the desert, that combined with if you've ever thrown a rock at a water tower, or if you've ever been on a frozen lake when it's cracking, you hear the dum, 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 dum. It was those two sounds combined. We're like, what? And we look over and we see this ring expanding out. It wasn't illuminating, but it was.
Now he's about to talk about a portal opening up. So pay very close attention.
An expansion ring, not a circle, a ring. And as it expanded, whatever it was, energy was moving outward at a pace that it was compressing the moisture on the end. If you watch like videos of bombs in slow motion, you'll see that. Sometimes you'll see a ring come out where you see water vapor forming. It's what it was like water vapor pushing out and under the moonlight, under the stars. We're like, that's kind of, let's go back. Yeah, let's go back. Start walking back over to the ranch house. And Tom came out and he's like, you guys okay? We're like, yeah, why wouldn't we? Did you hear that sound? He's like, no, but did you see the power go off? I'm like, what? No. And so there's the command center in the ranch house, and one of, I don't remember which one, but one of them, the power had gone, and then had come back on. And he said, that's impossible. They're on the same breaker box. You can't have one go off and not the other. But it did. So it was like.
Just like in a movie, right? Just like in a movie.
That was kind of strange. Okay, the bubble, they originally called the cone and then the dome, and now it's the bubble. This round circle, I'm just giving you a reference point because we're supposed to be talking about biology here. There's an anomaly, and they call it the.
It's about fucking time that we're gonna start talking about biology here. It's 51 fucking minutes into your 1 hour and 23 minute presentation about the biology of Skinwalker Ranch. It's insane that you spent 2/3 of it talking about anything other than biology.
Bubble nowadays, that's roughly the size and shape of it. It moves, it like undulates, and so it can range out to on all sides about almost 200 feet wider to in, but it moves and it goes up about 1,000 feet. They've brought stuff out of helicopters, and if they're over the bubble, it will bounce off. They have done big old huge fire things and rocket things underneath and had it.
Then show us video of that. You didn't take any pictures. You didn't record any video. Like, there's a whole fucking camera crew. There's a whole camera crew there. They made a show there. They were making reality TV there. They were always filming, and they didn't catch any of this?
Cap on. I have watched
especially during these experiments?
Film myself, like a big old $40,000 drone that one of our drone guys was flying, and it goes up in its working grid, and once it gets to the bubble, it's like it's hit something, and then it has to recalibrate, and then it starts going through. Wild. Seems impossible. And every time I was flipping out, I'm like, this is right here, it's impossible. So this bubble, we don't know what it is. I'm interested in biology. I'm interested in what do life form? How do they respond to this thing? You know, you take your magnets and your Geiger counters, your rockets, do your thing, but I want to know, how does life respond? So this is an anthill. This is an anthill on the ranch outside of the bubble. This is a strategic structure.
What part of you being a biologist does this come from? Like, why? You're the biologist on the team, and you're like, I want to see how life reacts to this thing. Is this the scientific method? You said, oh, you guys got all your, your sensors and your equipment, but I want to see how life reacts to this thing. They're doing the science. You're describing them doing the science, and then you're poo-pooing it.
You probably don't think much about ants. Ants are cold-blooded. They got to warm up in the morning. They have work to do. So they get rid of all the organics, and they gather up just sand, which is crystal. It's warm. It warms up quickly, and they make a cone. So that means the rising sun will hit it. They clear out. You ever see plants around an anthill? Not normally. They clear everything out. So those first rays of shallow sunlight will hit it and start to warm up the colony downward. This is a normal anthill. This is outside the bubble. This is inside the bubble. This is not a normal anthill. There's grass all around it. The ants will come in and out. They're just like...
That looks like just about every black anthill that I've ever seen anywhere. That actually looks like an anthill during the springtime. Are those baby queens? Or is that just chaff? Whatever it is, point being, that looks very much like an anthill. It looks like something that somebody who's never seen an anthill before would describe as not an anthill.
It's like they were drunk. They were just kind of like, hey, what's going on, man? How's it? Yo, it's kind of cold. All of the anthills inside of the bubble are like this. All of the anthills outside of the bubble are standard cones. Nobody noticed that because who cares about ants?
God, I wish there was some video footage proof of this, Gosh, it seems like that camera crew just didn't really catch anything.
But these are bioindicators that are telling us something. We need to pay attention. This is the weirdest thing. On the bubble itself, on the border of the bubble itself.
Is it weirder than flying cows who get bent in half by UFOs?
We were setting up posts. They're up now. They cover pretty much the whole bubble, and all these posts, like every fifth one has like a GPS tracker, and then they all have like a solar panel on top to do a little light at night, so you can have a visual, so you can know, am I about to walk in the bubble? Am I walking out of it? What's going on here? We were putting these up, and we were on the bubble boundary, and all of a sudden, all these ants start biting us. That's normal, right? We look at them, we film them. They were going crazy. They were going nowhere. They were coming from nowhere. They were not harvesting. They were not defending. They were just running around in circles in place, going nowhere. They were out of their minds. It was like somebody was scrambling their brains.
It would be cool if there was some video proof of this with all those cameras that you had going at all
Nature
times.
is not wasteful. You don't burn calories for no purpose. You burn calories to fight, to defend territory, to mate, to survive. You don't be like, I'm just going to go, especially if you're a colonial animal. An ant that can't harvest things, what's the worth to the colony? All of them were doing this. They're just flipping out in circles. We filmed it, we documented it, and that was right on the border of the bubble, as if going...
Can you leave your lunch in your car? I mean, if you were a food service establishment, I would say no, because it would then be out of the safe temperature zone for too long, but you are not beholden by the USDA, and food takes a while to get into that food safety danger zone, so I would chance it personally, but I would never recommend that somebody else chance it just because I don't want to be held liable for anyone getting sick. I cannot, as a hopeful public figure one day, recommend anything to that nature, but I can say that I would probably risk it. I've left leftovers in my car for a few hours before and have not thusly died. So it's entirely possible that you may not incur any harm from it, but, for the sake of food safety, I would exercise caution.
Being on the border is not good for your brain, so we're like, let's get out of here.
It's mashed taters and chicken bites. Yeah. I think you'll be all right. I don't know.
Probably not a good thing. Okay, this is a plant called golden aster, and there's an area south of where they're drilling, which, by the way, this isn't a biology thing, but we got a little more time this round. You go back on...
None of this has been a biology thing. none of the 55 fucking minutes. I haven't had to sit through 55 minutes of it, but none of the 55 minutes that you have just made these people sit through, who likely paid to come see you, has been anything about biology. Let's just establish that.
Google Maps and go back in time where they're doing the drilling, that entire mesa is sinking in. And every time I go there, I'm like, that's gone deeper. That's getting way deeper. It's where they're drilling in, it is all sinking in. So keep tabs, because who knows what's actually in the mesa. It's get interesting. But right below.
Doesn't land get displaced when someone starts drilling? Isn't that a thing that happens?
Oh, there's this pathway, and if you get above it, it looks like an airstrip. And like the way the plants are growing, it's this perfect rectangle. So we call it a landing strip. We don't know what it is. And this plant grows there. This is golden aster. Now I'm like, well, it's growing from the ground.
Because that's where UFOs land, probably.
Let's see what these plants tell us. I'm an animal man, not a plant man, but let's see what the plants have to say. So we did tests on the acidity and the alkalinity, and it turns out on one side the alkalinity was high, on the other side the alkalinity was very high, and in the center of the runway the acidity was very high, like ridiculously high. So don't know what that means, don't know what's going on with that, but there's definitely a biologically measurable difference from the same plant. Now, what about the plant itself? Well, look at the leaves. Here's leaves from either side of...
What the fuck do you think you're proving?
Growing from the ground, let's see what these plants tell us. I'm an animal man, not a plant man, but let's see what the plants have to say. So we did tests on the acidity and the alkalinity, and it turns out...
You're holding it on either side there, so your hand's not behind it, so no pink hue.
On one side, the alkalinity was high. On the other side,
You're holding it really tight against it so that there's just like a shadow there, but it's still reading alkaline like a normal test.
Alkalinity was very high, and in the center of the runway,
and then on that one, you just have water and not soil, and so it's picking up the pink hue from your hand, and so it looks like it is very acid.
Acidity was very high, like ridiculously high. So don't know what that means, don't know what's going on with that, but there's definitely a biologically measurable difference from the same plant. Now, what about the plant itself? Well, look at the leaves. Here's leaves from either side of the runway, and here's leaves from in the runway. I've talked to
So you tried to find the driest bits of leaves that you could that were somewhat eaten by insects, and then decided to use those as an example. This is why pictures don't work, you know? This is why you need to be taking video.
a botanist who said this is consistent with radiation burns. Radiation doesn't just burn it.
Is it? Or is it consistent with just normal wear and tear on plants?
It alters your DNA, and it scrambles. Your DNA is a code to replicate and make new cells. That's why when we get old, we start to is because our cells are doing copy, copy, copy. Well, if you interrupt that and make really bad code, then you get this. And this is what it looks like. This looks like this is...
He's a biologist, guys. Now, you just have to believe what he's saying, okay? Just don't question him. He's a biologist.
Radiated plant material. So, kind of interesting. Okay. So, we started to find... 2 years ago. I'm guessing 2 years ago. So Utah's in a drought. If you don't know the Southwest, we're 25 years into a drought. This is the second biggest drought in the past 2,000 years. We have the bristlecone pine tracking. We can see that this is the case. Animal populations are plummeting everywhere in the Southwest. All of a sudden on the ranch, 2 years ago, all the small animals exploded. Jackrabbits everywhere, cottontails.
They literally exploded. Every single one of them. Bam! Pop! 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 Blood and guts everywhere. I don't know where it came from.
Everywhere. Turkey population exploded. Quail, antelope, ground squirrel, Uinta ground squirrel, the potcuts, everything. Huge coveys of quail, magpies explode. Everything little exploded in numbers. We're like, this is not normal. It hasn't rained. We haven't had some big snowfall. What did this? How on earth could this happen? And we started to check scat stamp.
My guess, he's going to present that it's something supernatural. It's the will of the ranch.
And we need to do DNA tests on what the scat is, but I think we know. We'll tell you in a second. Finding coyote bones. Something was killing and eating coyotes. Now, wolves do not do that. Wolves kill coyotes. They don't eat them. They're too closely related. It would be like you eating a chimpanzee. If I roasted a chimpanzee...
You know, it could also be just because that farmers are pissed off about coyotes trying to eat their livestock, and they could just be shooting them.
Chimpanzee, there would be something off-putting about it to you. You'd be like, how about a steak? You know, you share too much DNA with a chimp. It's like, I'm like eating a human arm. Same thing. We see goshawks kill Cooper's hawks, but don't eat them. Wolves kill coyotes, but they won't eat them. They're too closely related. Something is killing...
What? Animals eat their own kind all the goddamn time. Hamsters, like, eat their babies. Like, they're... Right? Like, it's not... Speciation... Or, species will eat their own type, like, own kind all the damn time. What? Dolphins? Like... What? like chimpanzees, like the males, like they'll eat the brains of the babies, like so so that they won't be able to propagate their genes, but also B, because it's like an intimidation gesture and a good source of nutrition.
Killing and eating coyotes and
but things eat their own types all the time. You not see like birds eating other birds' eggs? Like vultures, like eating corpses of other birds? Like that, you don't think that's a thing?
And raccoons on the ranch. Now, what do we know about raccoons? They live in and near the water. Coyotes will go anywhere. But raccoons, they swim, they spend a lot of time in the water, they eat crayfish and things like that. All my raccoon scat samples are filled with crayfish shells and scales and stuff. So something is killing and eating the coyotes. These are coyote bones in from some of the scat samples. And this is a guard hare. I need to get more pictures of this. The guard hare, it's passing through the digestive system, it's eating the fur, it's eating coyotes. So that wouldn't be a wolf, not a dire wolf, not a gray wolf, not a Eurasian gray wolf or a Greenland gray wolf. It's none of those. So we need to do more on this. But there's big cat tracks on the ranch. These are some...
What the fuck? What the fuck, dude? Oh my god, man. Yeah, because you can't fake a fucking track. Yeah, because you can't fake a fucking cat paw. Oh my god, man. He collects poop and dead animals. This guy collects poop and dead animals, and his career, his channel here is a falconry channel, but he's calling himself a biologist. He's also a fire dancer who has 2 pet birds. That sounds pretty nerdy. So, I mean, not the fire dancing, but the pet birds. That sounds like something I guess a scientist would probably do. TBQH, you know?
Some of the smaller ones, Nathan and Caleb have even much bigger, but this is enormous. We at first were dismissing these as gigantic cougar. Now, cougars are not that big. This is a cougar. By the way, anytime you see us going...
What are you talking about? Those are just regular house keys, which are like that, right? And so if you add the fob to it, you've got something that's about that much around, right? Spread out on the ground. And so by comparison, the paw, the cat paw, is really only like that big. Like, that's not a cougar paw. A cougar, like, that's a cougar paw. They could slap your face off. Like, they will sneak up behind you and slap your face off, and you'll be like, oh hey, where'd my face go? Oh gosh, I have no idea what happened to me. My face is completely gone. Like that. It's just not a lot, you know? It's not crazy.
Oh, you gotta flesh it out. This alive is about as big as a volleyball. But this is a cougar.
Mm-hmm.
Cougars kill deer and elk, okay? They don't kill coyotes. They don't eat coyotes.
This print doesn't seem excessively large. I don't know what you mean.
So that's a cougar. They're not as big as you think.
On the key? What are you talking? What print?
Bigger. But jaguars. I mentioned jaguars earlier. Jaguars used again.
Which are not. I don't know if I need to tell you this, but jaguars are not native to Utah. They don't typically live there. Oh, the paw print you mean? Yeah, no, the paw print was tiny. That's like a house cat, or just a fuck, man, or just made up, or just like some guy put it there because he was like, oh, you know, we got to make this fucking thing sound legitimate.
And they used to live from Canada all the way down to Argentina, and that is a recent reduction. You might not know this. They are very aquatic. They love the water. They spend most of their time in and near the water. They are the most aquatic of cats. This is one killing a caiman, which is in the crocodilian family. Here's another picture of one killing one. They will get them from the water. What other animal is going to hunt?
Jaguars are fucking terrifying. I'm scared. Like, big cats legitimately scare me. Yeah. They're just hunters. They're just straight up hunters.
Basically a crocodile from the water. Crocodiles eat everything. These things go in the water. Come here, you! And they go and kill and eat caimans and alligators and crocodilians. It's nuts. They love the water. So again, these are the 2 jaguars we had during the Ice Age. The modern jaguar, which was here during the Ice Age, and the giant one.
I've also seen a group of caimans take down a jaguar before. Like, it's nature, dude. Like, that shit just happened. Nature just happens.
So
it doesn't happen on Skinwalker Ranch. Not with jaguars, anyway.
But a lot of people don't know that pioneers and settlers crossing the
I'm sorry. Tell me this is a painting that I can purchase. Please tell me that this is a painting that I can use my money to go purchase. Please tell me this is not AI. please tell me that this is a print that I can go and purchase and put in a frame somewhere. This is one of the most majestic pictures I've ever seen in my life. Oh, good. The Daily Wire's going out of business. Nice. We can celebrate about that. But I have to know, did the pioneers encounter jaguars? Jaguara? They did. Oh my god. They encountered jaguars. Crazy. That's awesome. No, I wish I had been a pioneer so I could see a jaguar. No, I don't. I don't want to see a jaguar. No. I'm scared enough of mountain lions. Play!
Documented seeing what they called leopards. They said there's bobcats, which have a short bobtail. There's the cougars that don't have spots, and then there's leopards, the big spotted cats. And the Native Americans talked about them.
No,
Lewis
thank
and
you.
Clark expedition says,
No,
yeah,
thank
Native
you.
Americans tell us that there's
Nope.
also leopards with
No,
spots. Okay, so we think that at least into the 1800s we had them.
Nope,
even in the
I don't
Great
want it.
Plains. We know in the 1900s we still had jaguars being killed in Arizona and Texas, and they still are in Arizona and Texas. You can look it up. I'm going to be doing some videos on it soon.
Are they?
But not Utah. And so what of this? Well, what about black jaguars? Now, what is a black panther? A black panther is a really stupid, clunky term, and I hate it. And I'll tell you why. It's like pachyderm. What's a pachyderm? Elephant, right? That's what it was, an elephant. No, pachyderm is a clunky term from like the 1700s that means thick skin. So it's like elephants, rhinos, and hippos. Those were the pachyderms. They're not related at all in any way, shape, or form other than they're mammals. But those were the pachyderms. Okay, well, and now people just say elephant is pachyderm. Well, they're not. They're proboscidae. Okay.
It's funny that he kind of like presents other scientists' words in like this voice that indicates he thinks they're stupid.
Well, a black panther is not a species. Any in the Leo line, so like lions and leopards and jaguars and cougars, any of those that can technically interbreed, if they're melanistic, then it can be called a black panther. The two that are most often melanistic are jaguars, a lot of them are, and wild leopards in Africa. Fair number of them are, with some frequency. It's not very common though. So, well, what of that? Well, one more. So this is footage just off the ranch that Caleb hooked me up with. So Caleb is head of security there. So don't worry, we'll zoom in a second. So they were seeing this. You probably can't hear them talking. They're saying, "What is that? Is that a bear? Is that? It can't be a tiger. What is that?" They
Yep, that looks like about the size of something that would leave a paw. Is it like a smart people thing that we are able to have like depth perception? Is that like is it an intelligence thing? Because it seems like only stupid people who believe that the scale of Earth is really small, you know? And then it seems like only stupid people who can't understand that lines converge at in a distance, but they're still parallel. I know I didn't sound very smart saying that, but like, I know I'm right. You know, like it's weird. That's just a fucking normal sized animal. What? I'm sorry, how big do you think the bushes are? If I was to take a look at this, I would think they're on the property here, right, where I'm circling my mouse. They're on the property here where there's an off of the road parking lot, right? They're in a parking area. This container tells me that the road's probably right next door because this is likely where they would hold construction supplies or they'd hold materials for ongoing construction or maintenance of whatever area this is. And since there's a berm here, I'm guessing that the valley or a lake bed or a riverbed or something, or the property itself might be on the other side of this berm, and that the road is right here, right next to the container, which means that the road is what, 30 feet across for like a couple lanes. That means that the container's regular size, the road's regular length, width, then when you get across, I would be like maybe if I was horizoning here on this ridge, I would be about this tall. I'd be about that tall because I'm a tall guy. I'd be about that tall on the ridge. This looks to be about 50 feet away. Maybe 100 feet, maybe 150 feet. I'm not quite sure, but this is maybe 100 feet away. I'm just trying to think of like if there was like car lengths, so maybe there's like 3 or 4 car lengths between the person taking this footage. No, maybe there's like 10 car lengths, and cars are what, like 6-7 feet long. So it'd be roughly like 40 feet to the container. and then another 30 feet, and then maybe another 25, 35 feet. So yeah, 50, 60 feet. That's like a cat or a raccoon or a bobcat or something. Like that's just a normal normal sized animal for the native animals of that area.
They think it's a black bear at first. It's so big that they think it's a black bear. Don't worry, we'll zoom in a second.
It's not big.
Whatever this is, it's a cat. It has a long tail, and more importantly, we're going to show you in a second, it has shiny fur. Caleb has been back to the site, and he has checked it out and gone up to those bushes, and he's like, yeah, this is way bigger even than a cougar. So
nope. Well, I thought you said you were going to zoom in.
Let me go back. Oh, okay. So I was supposed to be 2 here. This is a cougar. Cougar has a similar.
Did you not say that you were going to zoom in? He said he was going to zoom in.
For appearance, again, a cougar is much smaller than a jaguar. They're both powerful hunters. I mean, a cougar will go after elk. It's pretty impressive. Jaguars will tackle caiman in the water. But look at that fur. It is not shiny. Cougars have...
I mean, it really just depends on the cat's diet. That depends on whether or not the skins or the hair is going to be shiny. Like they have the ability to have shiny hair if they eat a lot of fat in their diet or a lot of essential oils and stuff like that. Sun will just reflect right off of that.
For that,
I know because I've had cats and dogs, and both of them have got shiny fur from eating good food. And I've seen wiry cats and dogs that have wiry fur from eating shitty food.
That absorbs light. Jaguars have fur that reflects light. I have a jaguar pelt. It's from the 1940s up here. You can see it when you're done. And go ahead and lift it up and look in the light. Even this jaguar pelt is shiny. The black ones are far shinier. If you have black fur, by definition, you are melanistic, and those melanin cells are even more reflective. So even though you're dark, you're shiny. So knowing that, let's see.
Okay.
Okay, so let's take a look at this.
People just have to take your word for it.
Now watch when it walks away. Watch the tail. Look at the shine. I'm going to play it again.
How can you even tell anything about that with how pixelated and compressed it is?
See, the daughter's saying it's either a bear or a lion. She's like, it's not. See that tail? Got that hunchback. It's got those big, broad, big cat shoulders. And it's got the shiny luster reflecting off. And it's shiny. It's got that long tail. So everything would point to this.
It's just some random woman and her daughter. Like, that's not... They are not authorities on what it is, nor could they potentially tell how far away the thing is. If they just aren't able to judge the distance. Like, that is not credible. That doesn't mean anything.
This being a jaguar. Now you're like, well, maybe it's a dark cougar. And that's what Caleb thought, too. Caleb was like, yeah, it's probably like a dark cougar. You know, doesn't mean dark individuals. I looked it up. I work in this industry. I have friends who read and train.
You've made up so many other things that it's very hard to take you seriously about a thing that you're going to say, I stake my reputation on it.
Like the Tiger King guys, but less evil. People who train bears, people who train wolves, people who train lions, people who train jaguars, people who train leopards and raise them. I have friends in this industry and across the board. You can look it up yourself. Don't trust me. Go ahead and look it up. We have no actual documentation of melanistic cougars anywhere. In fact, in the zoological field, they have tried to breed that in. They're like, well, if we had a black cougar at a zoo, people would come to see. That'd be really cool. It's like, you know, white tigers.
That's what zoologists do, is try to interbreed species of animals? I'm going to call bullshit on that one real quick.
They don't exist. There's no such thing as a white Siberian tiger. A Siberian tiger is orange. The white tigers, that's a recessive gene that they usually only get by breathing.
All right, dude. God damn. Like, he's taking these YouTube videos that he's seen, and he's like, oh man, like 5 ways we've debunked white Siberian tigers.
Father to son, mother to daughter, or breeding siblings, and it usually results in severely disabled and mutated individuals. The few that are not end up in the zoos. And you're like, wow, we're gonna pay extra money to go see the white Siberian tiger. It's not, okay? Same thing. These people have tried to breed a black cougar. They haven't been able to do it. Nobody's been able to do it. They don't do that. Now people said, well, what does this have to do with what you're talking about? Maybe this is a pet keeper. Maybe somebody illegally had one. That's a valid point. Because I asked my friends in the big cat industry, and I said, what would happen?
No. Can't you just fucking try for like 2 seconds to be a real scientist and debunk your own video? Show that you're doing this in good faith and debunk your own fucking video. How far? Why am I some random fucking guy on the internet asking how far away this person is from this animal? Why aren't you asking that? It feels like you're supposed to ask these questions.
If a jaguar, somebody had one legal.
This is what believing will get you into.
Got loose. They said it would have been raised from infancy by people. It would be seeking people out for food. Everybody everywhere would have seen this thing. This is a wild animal that knows how to slink and try to be unseen. This is not a meow, meow.
No, it isn't. It's in broad fucking daylight. This video is of this thing walking around in the daytime. Like a normal cat would.
Here's the important thing. Where was it? Let's take a look. It was on Earth. Look at that. Okay, zoom in. Go ahead. There we go. Okay, so this is actually like a soda shop in Roosevelt. But it's going to be really important to see in a second where it was at. So we're going to zoom in this little hill behind, what is it, the Beach and Drink Company. You can go see it yourself. So it was climbing up on that hill. But that seems strange, but zoom out. You see that river there? This river is just like, basically like 2 miles from Skinwalker Ranch. Following that river system, it goes straight.
Oh my God, dude. We're gonna look at it our fucking selves. We're gonna look at this shit ourselves. Right. Put me in there, coach. This appears to be it. Hang on. I gotta see. Okay. I'm gonna say yeah. Yeah, there's that distinct little, that thing that goes up there, which is right here. It's, you can't really.
It's a cat. It has a long tail, and more importantly, we're going to show you in a second, it has shiny fur. Caleb has been back to.
So it was up there, and my guess is. See if I can. How do I? Oh, here we go. Okay. There's got to be a way that I can get up on this thing. But I mean, if regardless, like, look, it's very clearly not a big hill. It's a very small hill. This is a very tiny hill, and somehow, some way or another, where isn't there? I thought there was another property. God damn it, another property that I could actually like go into here. Yeah, the Echo Drive-In, or right here behind the hill. Nah, you can't release. Yeah, no, unfortunately I can't see, but probably that drive-in. Let's see if we can take a look from there. Yeah, look at that. Okay, perfect. There's the hill. Jesus, like, why am I the one that has to debunk this shit? All right, take a look. So, this is the hill they're talking about. It's very fucking clearly just next to some, like, old shacks and houses and shit. This was just somebody's cat. Like, there's a forklift, there's a truck and a car right here. Very clearly. Just something up on that hill, I would be this tall.
Caleb has been back to the site, and he has checked it out and gone up to those bushes, and he's like, yeah, this is way bigger even than a cougar. So, let me go back.
Oh, it's okay. Not.
So,
it's really not.
Here.
It's the size of a normal cat.
Why?
That's either a bear or a.
See, the daughter's saying it's either a bear or a lion. She's like, that is not. See that?
Like they edited this, like they edited the sound. Like there was some cut in the sound. Like that's a house right there. That's somebody's house. There's just cats in the area. You fucking weirdo.
That tail got that hunchback. It's got those big, broad, big cat shoulders, and it's got the shiny luster reflecting off, and it's shiny for that long tail. So everything would point to this.
How can you tell that it's shiny? Like, that's, I'm sorry, there's just no way that you can tell it's shiny. What do you think, the rocks there are shiny?
Being a jaguar, now you're like, well, maybe it's a dark cougar. And that's what Caleb thought too. Caleb was like, yeah, it's probably looking guys, but I have friends in this industry. In fact, in the zoo pool, there's like, massive gene that they disabled and mutated, okay? Same thing. These people have, maybe this is a pet keeper, maybe somebody legally had one. They said it would have been raised out of slink and try to be unseen. This is not a meow, meow, give me food or I'm gonna kill you. No, this thing is being sneaky. So here's the important thing,
it's not, it's in broad daylight. It's not being sneaky. You give cats way too little credit.
That's it, let's take a look. It was on Earth, look at that. Okay, zoom in, go ahead. In Roosevelt. But it's gonna be really important to see in a second where it was at. So we're gonna zoom in this little hill. Behind the Beach and Drink Company.
It's damning to your case.
But that seems strange, but zoom out, you see that river there? This river is just like, basically like 2 miles from Skinwalker Ranch. Following that river system, it goes straight to the ranch. A jaguar has a minimum range of 50 square miles, so that's well within the range of a jaguar.
But what's the point? Like, it's not, you can't verify, and anyone can go onto Google Maps and look at that property and see that it's very, very a short distance away. Thus, only the size of a regular fucking cat.
That little ridge right there, that's Skinwalker Ridge, that's Skinwalker Ranch. So that's part of its range. So whatever this thing is, this appears to be a black jaguar on Skinwalker Ranch, killing and eating the coyotes, and it was ranging out following the river. It probably goes up and down that river all the time, looking for things to kill. It's not
okay. All right, one video shows a cat walking up a ridge. And to you, that's somehow now proof that supernatural things or extra-dimensional things or paranormal things are happening on Skinwalker Ranch. Holy fuck, man.
Here, it's not killing elk, it's not killing cattle. Wolves love to kill cattle. That's what they are built to do, to kill cattle and buffalo. They're built for it. No cattle have been killed, except for by aliens. UFO goes over the ranch, bleh, cow dies. But no super predator is eating the cattle, but it's eating coyotes.
And he just offhandedly mentions UFOs and that aliens are killing cows. This is just crazy.
It's eating raccoons, and it's following the river system, and this seems to be what it is, which is pretty cool. So, black jaguars, yeah.
Pretty cool,
so,
okay.
I don't know what to think about this. I think it's exciting. There's different ways to view this. I'm biological minded. It could just be that some individual has made its way all the way up from Mexico to the extreme far north. Again, we have them in Texas, we have them in Arizona. Why not northeastern Utah? It's pretty far. It's possible. But there's, again, this long history of people making the ridiculous claim that seems verifiable of Ice Age animals being on the ranch. We had jaguars during the Ice Age. Could it be that you have something that came through from somewhere else and is wandering around?
And that's more believable. That's more believable than just an existing member of a species that exists on Earth just migrated its way up. My God.
I don't know, but for sure, if you want to take away two things, there's a black jaguar roaming around Skinwalker Ranch and a UFO in broad daylight flew over a cow and killed it. I mean, those are two ends of the spectrum there. Oh,
nope, those are the same end of the spectrum. Same end of the spectrum.
Interesting stuff. Then most of what happens on the ranch I can talk about. These are the things that I got authorization by Brandon to be able to talk about. So I hope you enjoyed hearing about this. I want to share two things. If you're new to some of this stuff, two things I highly recommend. First of all, this just came out, an age of disclosure. This is good for everybody. It has good information, but more importantly, it has our top government leaders right now, all the way up to as high as Marco Rubio, coming out and saying, yes, this is real. This is going on. We need to be addressing this. We need to be releasing this information. So I highly recommend this is a good one to share with your friends. To be like, hey, let's watch this and let's have a conversation about it. What do we think is real? What do we think is not? What do we think is...
Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Even 34 people coming forward and saying that the government's hiding alien secrets would, to me, not be convincing enough. It's gonna take a little bit more, like actual proof, like just rock solid proof would be great.
The nature of reality. This one, I highly recommend you watch this video too. Now, Moment of Contact came out a few years ago. This is the update.
He's not even hawking his own shit. He's hawking other people's shit.
Version, and have a conversation afterwards. This will pick, but this I think is one of what are the odds? Bajillions of planets, and we're the only ones out there. Doesn't mean there's aliens here, but it's like, are we so arrogant to think we're
dude? Oh man, he's dismantling his own stances here.
Alone? No. So let's have a conversation about that. This video really important, and I think it does good to have a conversation and to be aware of some of this stuff. So those are two that I highly recommend for talking about the subject. The Skinwalker Ranch show. It's a really good TV show. I enjoy it. It's also cheesy sometimes. It's not the fault of the people who are making it. It's not the fault of the people who are on it. It's the corporate guys at the end who are worried like, well, let's do this and let's add this. And it's that end of things. It's not even the editors. They're good people who are sincere about what they're doing. They're trying to share. And again, not even a fraction of what happens on the ranch makes it out to the public. So that's just a whirlwind of the biology of the ranch. We're gonna have some questions. I've got items up here you can look at. You're welcome to hold. You just take a paper towel. You can take a look at. This is the rib that whatever bit through that. Got a saber-toothed cast, jaguar, cougar, and dire wolf. And Wendy will pick on you to answer questions.
You said that you've seen other Ice Age animals on the ranch. What other animals do you have?
Yeah, we're definitely not going to stay for the Q&A. Sorry, guys. Well, so there you have it. That was whatever that fucking guy's name was, Ben something, but it's clear that he, I think, is just really kind of a sick guy, and he wanted to explain away some of the sick and weird things that he was doing on the ranch as paranormal phenomena, and for whatever reason just can't seem to admit that he likes killing animals and then wiggling their dead carcasses and storing them in his freezer. Maybe he thinks that people would think he's weird or something, but this is the last day that we'll be talking about Skinwalker Ranch, at least until new things come up. So I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that you come back tomorrow when we'll be doing, probably playing more video games. Unless some other new weird shit comes out in the news, in which case I'm happy to cover that as well. Anywho, that means this is bye-bye for now, but I'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.